Hi, friends. My name's host Eric. I'm the host of Talking with Famous People. And today's video is entitled America, Hippies and Rednecks. So, there's a sense that America is as divided as it's ever been, as polarized as it's ever been. I think there's a general sense that there are two basic camps in America, hippies and rednecks. Oh, you sent me your essay? Okay, I'll check it out. I have to check my email, I guess. Or did you share it with me on Google Docs? Anyhow, one of a few core messages I have as a presidential candidate is that we are not actually very divided or polarized. We are not in very stark disagreement about things, actually. So it's like when the United States had civil war, it was over something very substantial. You might try to argue that it was over some variety of things, but ultimately the issue that was dividing the country was slavery. It's a very substantive issue, right? It's like, are we going to continue adding one slave state for one free state? I mean, it's funny because slavery was such that they couldn't even come up with a good euphemism for it. So if you take something like abortion, the terms on both sides are positive, right? Pro-life, pro-choice. Back in the Civil War, we had slave states and free states. Slave and free are not equally positive terms in the same way that pro-choice and pro-life are equally positive, right? You can't really hide slavery behind rhetoric very effectively. The other thing is, of course, that to the extent that they were able to try to sustain any moral high ground, it was all linked to like stuff linked to states and governments and stuff. Hi, Bobby Son. Hi, Lauren Cuthbert. So there are two basic camps in America, as perhaps there are in a lot of countries. I don't know. You want to squeeze past here?
Thank you.
I mean, Gen Xio, it was the South that, it's like, even if it's the case that the Democrats were the party of the South back then, that doesn't mean that we should oppose the Democrats now, right? It's like, they're not pro-slavery now. So, the thing is, for all of the talk about how divided the country is, if you really think about it, we're not very far apart on almost all substantial issues. So it's like somebody in Alabama gets up, makes breakfast for the family, takes their kids to school, generally doesn't commit any crimes, goes about their business, and the business they go about is very much like the business somebody goes about in Berkeley, California, or in Arcadia, California, even though we're on markedly different sides of the political spectrum in terms of general demographics, right? So the Trump supporters, like hardcore Trump supporters and hardcore Kamala Harris supporters, really have that much in is there really that much difference between them? No, not really. Not in terms of what life in America is like. They have access to the same media. They have the same kind of fast food restaurants. It's like Alabama's got Waffle House and California doesn't. That kind of sucks for California. Because who doesn't like Waffle House?
I like Waffle House.
And for other parts of the country, they don't have In-N-Out Burger. That kind of sucks for them, maybe, you know? California has In-N-Out. But Americans are Americans, no matter what part of the country you go to. The fact that Joe lives in Texas and favors gun rights, and Bob lives in Berkeley and opposes gun rights, well, or favors strict gun laws. I mean, is that such a huge gap between the people? The fact is, we're going to end up with some middle ground regarding gun laws anyway, which is it is legal for individuals to own guns in America. That's just how it is. It's always been that way, and it will probably always be that way because of the Second Amendment is quite clear. You know? Now, you could try to argue that the Second Amendment only justifies gun ownership for purposes of militia work, but I think people don't quite understand what a militia was back then. What it's saying is that because we expect every citizen to be a part of this democracy in every sense of the word, everyone should own a gun because we don't plan to keep a standing army. We plan to muster the citizenry to fight anytime we need to fight. We're not supposed to be a country that goes to war, engages ourselves in foreign wars, right? We're not supposed to maintain a standing army. According to the Constitution, a standing navy is fine, but a standing army is not. According to the Constitution, you know? We have one, nevertheless. We have a huge standing army. Well, not huge. I mean, not in terms of personnel. North Korea's got a bigger standing army than we do. But, the thing is, the real source of divisiveness, the real source of divide in the country is the extremely negative groupist stuff that Gen Xiol was, demonstrating for the purpose of making fun of it, not exemplifying it, you know. I mean, on most major issues, I think people are generally in agreement. It's just that most major issues have been resolved in one fashion or another. So no longer are significant matters of dispute. It's like it used to be there was a genuine big difference. Like if you were in the South or something, you were pro-segregation. And if you were on the West Coast, you were pro-diversity, yada, yada. But the thing is, everybody's basically on the same page that people should, that the world is better when there's less suffering, more equity, more justice, less crime, more protection of the natural world, less destruction of it. It's like, to what extent should that be prioritized over business interests and stuff? That's a question we're not necessarily always in agreement about regarding the specifics of it. But these are these are normal disagreements between members of the same team that we're talking about. And yet we've managed to allow the political process to divide us into two camps, hippies and rednecks. And it's like, there's not a single American who actually falls into either of those two camps. You can point to meow, meow, meow about me and say it's kind of hippie-ish. You can point to meow, meow, meow about me and say it's kind of rednecky. You can point to meow, meow, meow about me and say it's whatever. The point is, nobody fits into those camps. So if you're a super hardcore Trump supporter, think the election was stolen, blah, 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 you also probably are quite reasonable about a lot of things. Just because you've been emotionally manipulated into wrongness on this issue doesn't make you a bad person or desiring of being wrong or a bad American or non-patriotic or something, right? It's like the good thing about everyone's outrage is that at least it proves we're a country of people who are passionate about the state of the nation. If we could direct that passion like adults instead of like children, it would be much better. So I've been thinking about making a video titled like this for the channel that's going to be dedicated to the presidential campaign.
Oh, that's where it is. Thank you for putting it over there.
Yeah, I think you left it here when you went to go poop.
Yeah, I did. I was just worried that it was still on the couch somewhere.
So, what I want to stress to everybody is that there is an alternative. In other words, this is not a brink from which we cannot pull back. Dulles 1969 says, what we need are accurate information sources so that we all agree what basic reality is. We all have in front of us plenty of informational resources to determine what the truth is. The problem is not access to information. So I can determine what the most correct position on something is by just using Google and Google Scholar, right? They put music in their impeachment defense video. Well, the thing is, my dad is somebody who's really quite politically neutral, like me. It doesn't mean he's a centrist. It means he doesn't identify at all with any team. His position watching the impeachment trial yesterday was that the prosecution did an incredibly good job, an incredibly damning job of presenting evidence against Trump. So I'd take my dad's word for it. He's certainly, nobody would call him a Democrat. I think he's a registered Republican, but nobody would correctly call him a part of any particular group. He's like me, he's a correctist. He likes
really is,
that which is correct.
Yeah. It's actually really nice talking to your dad about politics because he doesn't really, like you said, there's no real side that's being taken. He just takes in the facts that is given to him and he determines what he likes and what he doesn't like. That's it. He doesn't try to
right. So when my dad tells me about how a given thing in the impeachment went, I trust it because he's neither pro nor anti-Trump particularly. He's whatever. When Legends Fall comes in and says, objectively speaking, the defense massacred the prosecution, I don't have any faith in the accuracy of that at all. My dad will tell me later today how he thinks the defense did. And that'll be an accurate assessment of it. When he said the prosecution yesterday did a very effective job of painting a damning picture of Trump, I believe it. Legends Fall is somebody who's allowed himself to be emotionally manipulated, as I was saying. It's like he's a patriot, Legends Fall. He's an American. He believes in justice, truth, goodness, and so forth. And yet he's allowed himself to be bamboozled because fundamentally he hasn't rejected this groupist nonsense. Whether or not the defense did a great job, I don't know. I haven't seen it. So it's possible. But yeah, I do, Legends Fall. You're clearly attached. You clearly have your FI running the show right now. Whenever an FI polar person lets their FI run the show, they are making bad decisions. Mm. That's just how it is. You would have said that they presented something formidable. You think the defense massacred it? I mean, from what I hear, the defense played a video with that had been had a score behind it, a musical score, in a court proceeding. Is that true, Legends Fall? If that's true, then you can't possibly say that and be serious.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If Trump does, in fact, get impeached, what does that mean? Like,
oh, well, the thing is, the trial here, there's a lot of legal matters that are up in the air still. For example, my dad actually explained it yesterday. It's like, I asked you a question. I said, if it's true, then you definitely shouldn't be saying that it was very effective. Because if I'm any serious human being in that proceeding, and I hear that and I see a video presentation with a musical score underneath it, I am both offended and appalled. It's like, do you think I'm that stupid? No, but did you hear what I said, Legends Fall? I'm talking about a specific question. I said, remember, it's conditional. If, in fact, they presented something in this proceeding with a musical score underneath it, then you should find it appalling like I do. That whole idea of doing that. And respond very badly to it, like I am. If that's, in fact, the case. Note that I'm not talking about anything about the content of it, right? I'm not saying the content is effective or not. I'm not saying whether I think he should be found guilty or not. I'm not saying anything of the sort, right? I'm talking about how any sane person would react if, in fact, they presented something that they had put a musical score underneath it. Did they? I asked you that question, and I said, if so, then you definitely shouldn't think they annihilated anything, because there are plenty of people in that room like me who are appalled and offended by that. It's a clear appeal to emotion, and assumes that I'm stupid enough to be influenced by that. I'm gonna have to work extra hard to keep my biases in check in favor of objectivity in that instance, because the person's trying to pull a con on me. So, I mean, that's just regardless of Trump being involved or not, right? Any sort of legal proceeding, whether it's an impeachment trial or anything else, if somebody tries to do that, I'm going to be appalled, right? I don't need to see anything or hear anything to make this conditional statement. If it is the case that happened, then this is what we conclude. What do you mean TDS? What's TDS?
I have that nug.
I'm not being emotional. Are you not listening to what I'm saying, Legends Fall? I'm saying if, in fact, somebody puts Legends Fall, a conditional statement requires the antecedent to be true for the consequence to be true. Okay? I'm not even in favor of impeaching him. At this point, I think it's a waste of time. Whether or not legally the impeachment proceedings can continue after he was done being president is still an open question and hasn't been addressed by the courts. So, I am not in favor of this proceeding ending in Trump's guilty verdict, if that's what you're assuming, right? Or that Trump is deranged. I'm pointing out that if I go to your house as one of several parties trying to get you to say, sell your car to me, and we're all offering the same amount of money, if I shit on your table, that's not a good strategy, right? Putting a musical score underneath what's purportedly evidence is shitting on the table in any kind of legal proceeding. And so I'm pointing out that was, if in fact that happened, then that was a terrible tactical mistake on his part.
Yeah, that really is.
I'm not saying that Trump should be found guilty or whatever. I don't think this proceeding should be ongoing, frankly. The Democrats are doing, purportedly, according to my dad, one of the big reasons why they want to finish it off is they don't want him ever to be able to run again. Which I can understand that. Yeah, you did spell it right. I can understand that motivation. I don't think that justifies this proceeding. I don't think they need to worry about that. He's not going to run again and win again. No way. The only reason he won in the first place was because he was up against somebody who was even worse than him as a candidate, namely Hillary Clinton, who was, so Trump should rightfully won that election because it's like going up against Hitler. Anybody's going to beat Hitler, right?
So,
well, they don't want him to get his pension. They want to be able they want to be able to prosecute him for crimes and stuff like that, all that kind of stuff. Well, so what do you mean it's much worse than that? Why is it much worse than that? They want to get Trump. Remember, Legends Fall, at no point that is in his presidency did Trump treat anybody but his supporters as though they were Americans that he cared about at all. He made it clear that he had nothing but contempt for every American that didn't support him. Nobody can dispute this. That's what he did throughout his presidency. So why would it be surprising that those Americans that he spent 4 years shitting on are now wanting to shit on him back? I think it's dumb because I'm trying to end this cycle, right? Don't accuse me of being emotional here. It's ridiculous.
Okay, I also want to go on the record to say that I didn't vote this year.
I didn't either.
For anyone to call us Biden supporters, they're wrong.
As with the last presidential election, I was not willing to vote for either of the candidates in this election. Well, let's just fall. What I'm saying is you're not using TI to adjudicate this. And if you're saying you're just using NI, your TI would say in matters where you don't have a clear FI preference that you would err towards the side of being correct, namely what I'm saying. Instead, you continue to persist in this notion that your conclusion is true even though you can't substantiate it, right? So that's a good indication that you're being driven by your FI. Otherwise, you wouldn't be like this. Most things you aren't like this. No, your FI preference is for Trump to have won the election. That's clear. And you believed that to be the case before you found a bunch of evidence to support it. That's also true. If you really care about the truth, then you'd acknowledge that and acknowledge that it establishes my side, right? No, but let's just fall. You believed the election was stolen before you had any evidence that it was. Correct? Even though there's no evidence that it is, there have been 43 opportunities for the Trump camp to argue election stuff in court.
That's pretty big.
I mean, that includes
That's
stuff
a lot.
before the final election date, though. That includes stuff before the election date.
Still.
So that is completely incorrect. So at first you assumed that Biden had legitimately won the election until anomalies kept popping up that shocked you and forced you into acknowledging that Trump really won, right? That's what you're telling me. Because if that's what you're trying to tell me, then you definitely don't care about the truth. That's a lie. You're lying. I mean, any reasonable person would acknowledge it was at least more likely to begin with that Biden would win the election than Trump. Liar. Legends fall, liar. You searched for evidence. You knew what you wanted to be true in the first place. You were eager. Given the total lack of evidence, you had to have been eager to jump at anything that smelled fishy because there's a total lack of evidence that Trump had the election stolen, and that any sensible person evaluating the probabilities ahead of time would have predicted that Biden would have won. Your eagerness to find bullshit to support your bullshit position proves that your FI is running the show. I love opportunities to prove that okay. Legend fault, when you just say, oh, you just wait and see, I'll be vindicated. If that's your position, then you shouldn't be making the claim, right? You'd be saying, I agree with you that the logical position right now is to conclude that Biden won fair and square. But my intuition is telling me the opposite. And I trust it enough to continue searching for evidence that is convincing to other people. Then, okay, fine. You do that. I would recommend you not trust your intuition in that instance, but fine. But you're not saying that, right? You end up at, I'll be vindicated eventually, but you start at, it was stolen. But you haven't presented evidence to suggest that that's true, right? We've gone through some of the evidence you have, and none of it's convincing. I've described to you what it would look like if you did have convincing evidence. And okay, well, look. If you cherry pick data, you can make a case for just about anything. All right? If you only pick the pieces of data that support your conclusion you want to sustain, then you can find evidence to support just about anything.
Yeah. You
have to choose to first, like, before I embrace something as true, I have to not be able to defeat it myself. So, you should go into that evaluation with what's wrong with this evidence, not what's right about it. Hold others to a high standard, It's like, as soon as I see somebody's arguing under a clear agenda, I cease being interested really in what they have to say, because, it's like, unless my position is the opposite. If my position is the opposite, I want to see the best arguments against my position. So I'll run through an agendist thing and see if there are any good arguments there worth following up on. But if I'm looking to establish the truth of something, one way or the other, then I'm gonna skip all the agendists because they can't be trusted. And I can find I'll go to actual peer review studies and stuff. Use Google Scholar, you know. Don't rely on people who clearly have an agenda. And now look, I can have an agenda on something and still argue it well. So it may be everybody who's trying to make a case obviously is trying to make a case about something. That doesn't mean that everybody's trying to make a case is working from an agenda. Like when I made the case that the strongest position on the virus origins was lab release, I successfully made the case based on the limited scope of the scales of the claims I was making and using peer-reviewed journals and a bunch of different sources, many different sources on both sides of the issue that I could find, and concluded what I concluded because of a genuine effort to determine the conclusion, right? So I want to make sure if I'm making an argument, making a claim, and establishing it, that it's not really possible for somebody to defeat what I'm saying. So I need to check the scope of my claim, make sure it's adequately limited to be supported by the substantiation that I provide. That's why when I tell you evolution's bullshit, that may be controversial, but I can substantiate it. In other words, if you acknowledge that evolution is an affirmation, that it claims to explain something, then it's toast. It doesn't explain that. It doesn't meet its burden to affirm. I can negate it easily in lots of different ways. And the funny thing is almost everybody who first hears me say this says, oh, no, evolution is true. You're crazy to say that. That's very anti-scientific of you or whatever. Of course, almost none of the people who talk to me about it even really have any conception of what evolution is. They still think it's like Darwinian evolution, sexual selection or something. So in other words, they're not up to date about contemporary explanations of evolution by evolutionary scientists. But the problem, of course, is why is everybody wrong about evolution? Because it was one of those. It's something that should be a scientific issue of some sort. Instead, it became a political issue. And when things become a political issue, people become entrenched, as Legends Fall is here.
It's true. I have a question. When was it that you started to question evolution?
After, really, I guess it's after I started this YouTube channel. And Legends Fall, I'm very egotistical. I assume all your correct positions you heard from me. My claim's about evolution, though, Winston's mom. My claim is that genetic adaptation to changes in the environment doesn't explain speciation. Evolution's claim is the opposite. I know you wouldn't let this fall. I'm just joking. No TI tool user would ever ever fine with somebody else's expertise. Now, there are some exceptions to that. Like, if I'm going to be arguing about philosophy stuff, like the role of observation, and I'm going to reference quantum stuff, I'm probably going to want to reference some articles, because the truth is, I don't understand the mathematics. I don't understand quantum mechanics in terms of the math. I understand it sort of as a philosophy matter. And so if I'm going to speak meaningfully about it, I'm going to have to reference people who I believe to understand stuff that I both don't understand and know that I'm never going to get around to learning, because it's too complicated. You don't deny genetic evolution in general. No, I deny that that genetic adaptation to environmental changes explains speciation. So in other words, that even though it's true that a species will adapt within its genome to changes in the environment. So guppies that have very low predation end up having fewer longer-lived babies over time than equivalent populations of guppies that have higher predation. They end up taking a different approach. And it's also the case that possums in the wild have substantially longer lifespan and therefore breed less frequently and have fewer kids than possums in the city, because possums did get hit by cars so often. So what I'm saying is, yes, every species has within it some plasticity within its genome, just as every individual has within them some plasticity regarding their body. So, for example, I can lift a bunch of weights and make my muscles bigger. I can be lazy and eat a lot of food and get myself all the way up to 194 pounds. Hooray for me. I can instead try to stop eating food and lose weight if I wanted to do something like that. In other words, I can change my body up a certain way, but no matter how many times I flap my arms, I will never be able to fly. So we understand that adaptivity, the ability of an individual to adapt their physical body to the environment, is limited. And that same rule applies genetically. A genome is a genome. A species is a species because it's a distinct kind of thing. There may be different varieties within that kind of thing, but it can never cease being that thing. In other words, what defines a species is that it always gives birth to members, mates with another example of its own species, and always gives birth to another example of its own species. So if you just think about the math of it, I mean, first of all, the idea of selection producing speciation by changing the genome over time is inherently flawed, right? Because let's say you've got a population of 10,000 pigeons, and one of them is born with some sort of genetic mutations that give it some dramatic advantage. In terms of its sexual advantage, almost every pigeon born during its lifetime will not be its pigeon baby, right? It'll be some other individual within the species. And if it is in fact mating with other pigeons, then the genetic changes can't have been very dramatic, or else it wouldn't be the same species and it wouldn't be able to mate with other pigeons. Additionally, what all geneticists have come to accept is that all mutations are deleterious, and that at best some are neutral or nearly neutral. No scientist has been able to explain the mechanism by which this genetic plasticity produces speciation. Now, typically, what the answer is that people give me to this, as GenXial tries to do here, is say, well, change in advantage are going to be tiny at scale, but if you stretch it out over 4 billion years, of course, nobody makes the claim that no scientist makes the claim that all the current species evolved over the course of 4 billion years. Every evolutionary scientist acknowledges that all of these current species that exist have emerged over the last 66 million years since the last extinction event, prior to which there were extinction events roughly every 40 million years. So the idea that that we evolved from corals in the last 66 million years is mathematically impossible, patently absurd. How does a giant sequoia tree that lives 1,000 years, or bristlecone pine, the lifespan of which is several thousand years, how does it evolve from moss into, a million years is just 1,000 years? How many generations? If in fact any sort of evolutionary mechanism were right, wouldn't we see a lot more evolutionary change in things that have a lot shorter lifespan and a lot less evolutionary change in things that have longer lifespan? If in fact evolution were correct, why haven't we been able to breed fruit flies into something other than fruit flies yet, since we've been spending all of science breeding them? If in fact evolution is correct, why can't we breed dogs into different species? We have Chihuahuas, we've got Great Danes, yet they can still produce reproductively viable offspring with each other, and in fact, with wolves as well. So if in fact selective breeding, which is maximally attained by a human endeavor, more so than nature ever could, if in fact selective breeding produces speciation, why haven't we produced new species by selectively breeding things? How can you explain the evolution, the slow, gradual evolution of a bristlecone pine whose lifespan is several thousand years over the course of just 66 million years? If in fact evolution is correct and things are constantly evolving, if we extrapolate back the rate of evolution that we see in humans from the beginning of recorded history to now, would we in fact find that extrapolating back, we'd be back at corals 66 million years ago? In other words, is the amount of change that's happened over the last 25,000 years, which, for 25,000 years, 4 of those is 100,000. So 40 of them is a million years, okay? If we times the amount of change in humans over the last 25,000 years by 40, we get to a million. If we times it by then 66, we get to the last extinction event. Does extrapolating that rate of change back produce humans from corals? Or rodents or whatever? Why, if in fact that math is wrong, Genexial, why is it that all evolutionary scientists agree they've yet to be able to develop a meaningful genetic clock, which is to say, they can't tell you how long it takes to get from meow to meow? Hi, Susie. How's it going? Now, the thing is, this was the explanation for it for a while, because the fossil record shows that there's what's called the meow, meow, meow explosion. It's one of those Mesozoic, kind of Jurassic, whatever. One of those words, explosion. Cambrian explosion, yeah. In which we went from meow branches to meow branches in a few million years. In a few million years, okay?
Cambrian. Damn, I haven't heard that since high school.
So in order to explain this, Genexial, in order to explain the Cambrian explosion, where we went from a few species to shit tons in just a few million years, evolutionary scientists came up with the notion of punctuated equilibrium, which says that what happened was the evolutionary processes turn on for a stretch of time, and then they go into evolutionary stasis, or the evolutionary processes turn off for a while. And that's why we don't see any change anymore. Except there's no explanation as to why, right? And in fact, just recently, I read an article that said, Evolutionary Science Magazine or whatever it said, punctuated equilibrium disproved by blah, 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 blah. Why would a person with autism not be scared of getting the COVID vaccine? Because it would just be a system upgrade. Is that a joke? Okay, so only small mammalian creatures survived the meteor. So, and then from those small mammalian creatures, Gen Seal, we have the Cambrian explosion in just a few million years. So, how does all that evolution happen in a few million years and then stop all of a sudden thereafter? Keeping in mind, I'm not providing an alternate explanation. I'm saying evolution doesn't provide any explanation.
You know, Winston's mom, she says, while I'm thinking about it, everyone check out Sean Ryan Barron's channel. He has uploaded some lovely songs for Valentine's Day. I could put it up a link if need be. Please do. I actually never, ever talked about Valentine's Day so much in my life. Like this year, I've talked about Valentine's Day.
Is today Valentine's Day?
No, it's not. Do you want me to tell? I'll let you know what it is.
Okay, please. So Gen Seal, let me answer that. Lucy and other hominid species, fossilized hominid species, are not proof of evolution. So we also have a number of extinct species fossils that we have, right? And only with humans do we see this purported remnants of species along a development line, right? So in other words, why don't we see a bunch of extinct intermediate species up between cow and whale, for example? Why don't we see a bunch of intermediate species between for any other species? We don't. So even if in fact we are to interpret those as intermediate species, we're doing something that we don't do for any other species but humans. And number two, there's no reason to conclude that those are proof of evolution, just that those species once existed and are no longer exist. Right? So that's not the strongest argument for evolution is a branching fossil record. However, there's an equivalent branching kind of quality to, say, architecture, human architecture, buildings and stuff, technology. That doesn't mean that the new buildings evolved out of the old ones, you know? It's like only metaphysically did any evolution occur.
You know what startles me more than like evolution is how some people, like, or not even some people, but how some traits within people don't change. Like, I have a recording of myself from when I was little, right? Some of the same stuff that I did then, I still do now. Like, it really, it startles me. I'm like, oh, I think I've changed so much, right? And in some ways I have, but in some ways I haven't.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, I agree, Cosmic Pentastar. It is falsely equivalent in a sense that we know buildings were designed and we don't know that there's no equivalent without making assumptions that I'm trying to avoid. There's no equivalent on the other end of it. But Gen Seal, what I'm saying is this. I agree with you. That's surprising that they're a group of species and a coincidental growth over time to us. I agree with you that the branching fossil record is a huge coincidence, much too much to be a coincidence. So I would love to hear the explanation as to how in fact they evolved from less complex to more complex organisms, because that'd be great. I would love to have that piece of evidence match up with the theory of evolution that makes sense and explains it. So go ahead and explain it for me. I mean, I'm saying evolution doesn't explain the mechanism, and it's changed its explanation multiple times. Evolutionary scientists have, you know. In other words, evolution is not a theory in the same sense that relativity is a theory. If relativity were disproved, we'd abandon it. Yeah. Evolution keeps getting disproved in its current incarnation, and they just keep coming up with new bullshit and keep calling it evolution.
No, it's like I almost wonder, because it was such a big deal back when it came out, the idea of evolution. So much so that it went to trial. I almost like want to say that they just don't want to backpedal on their court decision.
It's become a political issue. That's the problem with it. It's that if it were a purely scientific issue, it would be treated like every other scientific theory. It would be long since falsified. But instead, it's been positioned as the alternative to creationism. And that you either support science or you support religious explanations.
Right.
Of course, I am not saying I'm opposing evolution because I'm a creationist at all. Go ahead and give me the explanation, and I will gladly, lovingly embrace it and have sexual intercourse with the explanation, because I'll be so satisfied and finally knowing the answers to where species come from. Okay? But don't try to tell me evolution provides that explanation, because if you think it does, you are very satisfied by some shitty ass explanation. Let me tell you, that doesn't explain anything.
There's a great movie with what's his name from It's a Wonderful Life? Jimmy Stewart. I believe he plays Darwin, and you can even almost see that trial was such a big deal because like it was creationism versus evolution and science, and it happened in the South, and it happened during this like real hot spell. So, I mean, there's so many factors.
The thing is, if viruses really evolved, think about how many generations of viruses there are. Viruses reproduce very quickly, right? And purportedly change evolutionary very quickly. That's why there's new strains of flu virus every year, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if they actually evolved, that is to say, grew more complex over time, given the number of generations they have, why haven't viruses already taken over the world? They have a distinct evolutionary advantage, which is to say, if in fact selection, either environmental or sexual, causes a sort of optimization of the genome such that it creates speciation over time, then why haven't viruses ever evolved beyond viruses? Why do they keep being different kinds of viruses?
I just also think that people would evolve more too. Like,
well, people have a relatively slow reproductive rate, so it's much easier to study or talk about evolutionary processes and things that have short generations, like fruit flies. In one human lifetime, there will be many thousands of fruit fly generations. Maybe hundreds of thousands of fruit fly generations. So any mechanism of evolution that you want to provide for me as an explanation, we can test it easily enough. That's the problem with evolution, is it doesn't want to provide me. No evolutionist wants to provide me a mechanism I can test.
Yes, thank you, Winston's mom. Inherit the Wind with Spencer Tracy. Yes.
And if you're trying to avoid shit that can be falsified, then you're just playing magical thinking.
Joseph says, why does the only alternative to evolution have to be American creationism?
It's not. I mean, I'm not saying it is. I'm saying that's what people think.
Yes, that's what they do think. That's what they're taught. I have to go to the bathroom.
That's how people default, I guess you might say.
I have to go to the bathroom again.
They default to assuming that if you oppose evolution on the grounds of whatever grounds, then you must be a creationist. But I oppose it on rationalist grounds, that it doesn't do what it claims to do. What's that white circle? Oh, that's the light bulb.
Oh, hi, Trouble.
Here you go, buddy. What a handsome scamp he is. Trouble has devilish good looks, let me tell you, for a cat. Well, I mean, the thing is, if, like, one possible explanation that's not God and not evolution is simulation theory. Of course, all simulation theory does is the same thing that God does. It pushes the question back a level such that you acknowledge it's not accessible to you. So if you say, if you ask, well, why God and how God? Well, that's a question that's not accessible to you, or an answer that's not accessible to you. If you say, well, why sim or how simulation? Well, that's not an answer that's accessible to you. So simulation theory does basically the same thing that creationism does. It says asking questions beyond that seeks answers that are not accessible to you. So no, I'm actually hung up on the idea cosmic penstar of species changing. So my understanding of a species is basically a genome that weakens over time. So it is true that epigenetics do affect a genome over time, and essentially a genome becomes sicker and sicker and sicker over trillions of years as bits of bad epigenetics get into the genome and persist. So we end up with things like sickle cell anemia and other genetic diseases that enter the genome and are especially more likely to persist in species that are highly advanced like us, because what might kill an animal if they had some sort of disease, we might keep that person alive and they may even reproduce. So it's not that genomes don't change over time. They do. They weaken and sicken over time. But it is the case that fruit flies never stop being fruit flies, no matter how much we breed them. It is the case that dogs never stop being dogs, no matter how much we breed them. They have a certain number of chromosomes, and that doesn't change. And the fact that it's possible to modify genomes and adapt genomic expressions to certain kinds of environments does not prove that species aren't species. So it's like that's the bottom line. Species are species, just as you might be able to. It's like, okay, a rock can become several smaller rocks, which can eventually become sand. But a rock can't become a fish. It has to cease. It has to completely cease being a rock before it can have any part in being a fish. So, in other words, it is true that once it becomes sand or dirt or something, and it washes into the sea, and it provides nutrients to some kelp that some shrimps eat or something, or some plankton that some shrimps eat, that then a fish eats. In that regard, the rock can become a fish. Okay. But it has to completely cease being a rock first. And the same thing is true of species. It's not conceivable for a species to produce another species definitionally. A species is that of which there are individual instances, and those individual instances mate with each other and always produce another instance of that species. So, I mean, if we want to define species, and increasingly evolutionary scientists don't want to define species because it produces too many logical problems for them. If we want to define species, then we would negate evolution definitionally right off the bat, because I mean, a species is defined as that which produces more of itself. It's a self-replicating genome.
So are you asking just the public in general to change their minds about evolution?
No, I mostly use evolution as an example of how it doesn't matter how unpopular a position is. If it's correct, I will argue it. In other words, if you bring to me a crazy notion or a very contrary notion, and everybody's saying the opposite, I'm the right person to come to, because if in fact you are correct, then I'll agree with you. I'm not afraid to agree with correct things that are controversial. So it's like, personally, I find that the preponderance of the evidence suggests that 9/11, at least to some extent, was an inside job. The collapse of Building 7 has never been explained and is, in and of itself, adequate evidence to substantiate claims that this was not simply the work of terrorists.
I have a question. So, I mean, even though that I'm from New York, I don't know. Building 7, that was the second one, right?
No, it's the third one. The one that you don't ever hear about.
Oh my God, what the hell? That's so messed up.
Building 7, but see, okay, look, none of your biz. This is the key thing. This is what I'm talking about. Everybody who wants to know whether their conspiracy theory-ish type thing is legit or not should just ask me and trust my response. I mean, I know other TI users will never accept that, but the fact is, just because at least some portions of 9/11 were an inside job, it does not mean that we can say things like secret societies run the world. That's
like an easy way out, honestly.
It's like, the key thing is be very, very careful with the scope of our claims. So I can expressly support the claim that at least some portion of 9/11 was an inside job by simply pointing to Building 7. Building 7 fell down, was never hit by any plane, and there was lots of circumstantial evidence that certain groups that are the conspiratorial groups had good interest in seeing that building fall. In other words, it had a lot to do with the CIA and also the World Bank. And so someone wanted to destroy a lot of evidence. And now, you could argue, however, that the powers that be took advantage of the chaos of the day. That seems a stretch. That's some quick thinking. It's like, that's some awfully quick-minded conspiratorial criminal thinking. And there's a lot of other reasons to suspect that, in fact, various parties knew ahead of time that 9/11 was going to happen. So now look, the thing is, regarding other aspects of 9/11, it's more difficult to substantiate claims. did a plane hit the Pentagon, or was it something else? I mean, I was really into studying this topic for a long time, and I've seen legends fall. See, this is the thing about that. My intuition tends to agree basically with what you're saying about the Pentagon, but probably manufactured disinformation or misinformation. But nevertheless, I have seen pictures of plane wreckage on the Pentagon. So whether or not those pieces of evidence are legit or not, it's perfectly reasonable, I think, to suggest that those images may not have been legitimate. But because they're there, I find it, I tend to not make claims like that, because I know what work I have to do. I know I have to first disprove the evidence. There's only one piece of evidence that's absolutely, in my mind, smoking gun definitive. And that's what I look for. I want something that no matter who I'm talking to, they can't defeat. They can't beat this, right? And that's what I'm talking about with Building 7. The official explanation is that the planes that crashed into the two main buildings started a fire in Building 7, even though Building 7 is like 2 buildings away. And that those fires in Building 7 caused Building 7 to collapse in a heap. And so, talking about 9/11 leaf trimmer? Oh, Jesus. I've spent so many hours researching it all. I mean, it's been a while, but the early 2000s, I spent countless hours researching it. More than I wish to admit, frankly. Well, I think in this instance, leaf trimmer's trying to pick a fight with me. Actually, Legends Fall. I mean, yeah. Leaf trimmer, this is the thing. When you have a clear-cut win there like that, hold off for a second and wait to see how you want to use it. Don't just come right out with, "You moron, I was defending you." Right? That's not how to win friends and influence people. The point is, what I concluded after countless hours of research is that the only thing worth really arguing is Building 7, because I've never heard anybody give any even partial kind of okay response to that. I've never heard any explanation for it. They never have one. They never gave one. They just, well, and Building 7 fell down. Wait. What did you just try to slip in there? Like, Rachel didn't even know what Building 7 was. She never heard of it. That's how tricky they were with this shit, The Titanic was propaganda. I agree. Titanic was propaganda. It was propaganda trying to get people to stand on the front part of the boat. What's the frontest most part of the boat called? Boats have they have separate words for everything, Stern and burn and poop deck and port. That's the other one. Stern and port. What's front and back on a boat? Is that just front and back? I agree. Leaf trimmer's right. Legends Fall. You just misread that one. You just got to go like, okay, I misread that. The bow and the stern, right? There's the bow and the stern are the front and the back, right? And then, or is the bow the back? And then port and What's the other side besides port? Port and starboard, right? None of your business. That's not true that most world leaders in the world, that all political leaders in the world share in just a few bloodlines. For example, Chinese Premier Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, German Prime Minister Angela Merkel, and let's see, Pakistani or former Iranian president do not share the same bloodline at all, right? Objectively. So that's silly. That's a really silly idea. Incredibly silly. Yeah, it's a propaganda film made by the airlines to cut even further into the resurging ocean travel business. Do we really want to take a plane to New York? Why don't we take a boat around the Horn? The Horn of Good Hope. The Cape of Good Hope. The Horn of Gibraltar. The Rock of Gibraltar, Eric. What's the horn then? One of them's a horn, right? Airline magnate Howard Hughes today admits launching the Titanic as a means of dissuading people from engaging in ocean travel. No, they'll have to fly on my gray goose. Okay, well then, hey, leave round 2 and round 2, okay? A new day, new debate topic, new opponent. Just, I want you guys both to remember, I want Leaf Tremor and Legends Fall to both remember that each other of them is to the other of them the sunshine of their life.
Aww.
Legends Fall, you are the sunshine of Leaf Trimmer's life. And Leaf Trimmer, you're the sunshine of Legends Fall's life.
That is so
Don't
sweet.
let that sun go setting on a beautiful relationship.
I support.
They are the sunshine of their lives. And I'll always be around. That's a Valentine's Day song for Legends Fall and Leaf Trimmer sitting in a tree. ARGUING.
I feel like it's kind of nice that you don't have to think about Valentine's Day. I'll just tell you when it is. Isn't that nice?
That's nice.
Yeah, because I don't really care too much for the holiday.
That makes me feel like the Royal Dutch of Dukes.
Aww. We know some of those titles now.
So apparently, just for those of you who didn't know this, let's talk
Yes.
about the peerage, okay? The peerage in Britain. There are, in fact, 4 or 5 levels of peerage. So your top level of peerage is your duke or your duchess, okay? Now, there are dukes, and then there are royal dukes. So let's say you're a prince, like say Prince Charles. You're not the king, but you have to have some important peerage title before you become the king. So you're afforded the title Royal Duke, and you become, for example, Prince of Wales. But you're not actually a duke. They don't really count as a duke. It's just they're duke and duke. They're duke pending advancement to king.
Yeah.
Now let's talk a little bit about the importance of is it viscounts?
Yes, viscounts.
Viscounts come next, I believe. Now, viscounts originated from earls, but what one king did was elevate a couple of earls above the other earls and call them viscount. Oh, wait, there's another one.
Yeah, there is. There's like...
It's Marquise.
Yeah, I think Marquise is next.
I think Marquise is between earl and baron.
See?
So, okay, next. So after duke, you've got your viscount. Then you've got your earls. Now, it used to be that it went duke to earl. But when that one king decided to elevate a couple of earls above the rest of them, he created the category viscount. Mm-hmm. Not to be mistaken for discount. Okay. If it says 10% off, comma, viscount, that's not a discount for you unless you're a viscount.
Right.
Okay. Below viscount, then you have the rest of the regular earls. Regular earls are still pretty important, but they're not viscounts. Below the regular earls, you have marquise. Now, the thing is, there aren't that many marquises in England because some old English marquise said to the king, "Can we stop being called marquises because it's so French?" And so a lot of the marquises were either elevated to earl or relegated to baron, but there still are some marquises. And I believe an area of land under the control of a marquise is called a marquisette or something like that. Anyway, now let's talk about what's below the marquise is your baron. So barons are the lowest of the peerage. That's not that's a full blast peerage. The key thing about peerages is to be the best earl means your earldom is the oldest of all the earldoms in a given area. So the high earl of England is the oldest earldom in England. The highest earl in Scotland is the oldest earldom of Scotland. And the highest earl Ireland is the oldest earldom in Ireland.
So, none your biz, what is host Eric getting wrong? What do you mean the position?
Oh, I pointed out that like the guy who's in, like Kim Jong-un is a world leader, and so is Angela Merkel. But they don't share bloodlines.
Oh no, they definitely don't.
Right?
No. Hitler had some dank titties. Lennon. You cry.
A lot of the old pennant models in World War II were actually Hitler dressed in different costumes. He was a sexy one.
You know, what's really weird is that like Hitler has this aspect in his birth chart that says that he's sexy. And people who like study his chart say that he was appealing to people. He definitely was.
So what about the leader of India?
Who was that?
I don't know. I don't remember at the moment.
We can check. I can easily check.
Oh, just Western democracies? So like Angela Merkel's related to Trump or something? Is related to Biden? I mean, it's like families go like this so quickly in terms of relations, you know?
You're telling me.
You're as inbred as an Alabama Habsburg. Well, they got to fight against the Chinese, you know? Obama's related to Brad Pitt.
Really?
Okay. So when I become president, who are you going to claim I'm related to?
George Clooney? Who do you think are cool? Who do you think is cool?
No, I mean, I'm saying, are you going to find some bloodline linkage between me and Trump and Biden and Merkel or what?
What are they, like, distant cousins? Like distant cousins? This weed is so good.
If in fact there are 13 bloodlines used for positions of power, why are there so many exceptions? I mean, is AOC one of those bloodlines? And also Mitch McConnell? What about all 9 Supreme Court judges? Are they all one of those bloodlines? Clarence Thomas, one of those bloodlines? And also John Roberts?
Third cousin. They both like to smoke weed.
At how high of a political level do you have to reach before you have to pass this bloodline test? Could I be a federal appeals court judge and not meet the bloodline requirement, but not a Supreme Court judge? I descend mostly from Richard III, who's known as the hideous, ugly king. He had a hunchback, but I didn't get any of those parts of his genetics.
I did.
I just got the lion heart part.
Oh.
No, none of your biz. No. So you don't. So in other words, you don't know how to argue or think. I'm asking you a simple question. At what level of power do you have to get before this bloodline requirement kicks in? Can I be a county clerk, or do I have to have is that too high of a power?
My mom was a county clerk.
Was your mom a Rockefeller or something?
No, just an ESTJ.
Can I be a state governor? Is Jerry Brown related to Arnold Schwarzenegger?
I was just gonna ask the same thing. Would that make you related to Arnold Schwarzenegger?
No, not as far as I know.
What about Oprah?
Yeah, what about Oprah? Is she one of the 13 bloodlines?
I bet you she's in there somewhere.
What about Kim Kardashian? Is that where she gets her big ass?
Yeah.
From her magical bloodline?
Oh my gosh, I bet it is from her magical bloodline.
I'm just really impressed by how Kim Kardashian managed to get into Yale and join Skull and Bones.
She is a lawyer. I don't know what law school she went to.
Kim Kardashian's a lawyer?
Yeah, she's a lawyer.
She has a law degree?
She passed the bar, yes. Whether she passed or someone else passed for her, I don't know. She's a lawyer, yes.
Oprah comes from Jefferson. Well, Jefferson definitely did hump his slaves.
Yeah.
In fact, he apparently his real wife was one of his slaves.
Yeah, I don't know if she is smart, man. I mean, she could be. Honestly, here's the thing, like, I think that she probably should have just like stayed as being a lawyer. She's this is so I'm gonna be talking woo woo, but this is what I think. Her dad was a huge like entertainment lawyer, or I don't know if he was in entertainment, but he was a lawyer. And I think now that the show is going to be over, she's going to do more lawyer stuff.
Well, I do appreciate you answering the question on your biz. Who is not allowing this to occur? I mean, because the political processes of becoming a committee member typically link somewhat to seniority and influence and a variety of other matters of political capital, not so much to, and granted, nepotism is a form of political capital. So nobody's disputing that it is a form of political capital, but you seem to be affording it more weight than it would be possible for it to have without some mechanism that would be impossible to keep hidden, I guess.
She did get lucky with her leak, totally. And her mom is, she's all about making her kids become a business. So
just the Kardashian mothers in the bloodlines. So if it just takes one half of it to continue a bloodline, and these bloodlines are really diffuse, right? I mean, they're not any real relation at all, right?
Gets to a point where you know.
Yeah, really quick, you're talking about there'd be no actual blood relation at all, right? After just a few generations of that. So that's just silly.
Well, I don't know about I don't think I have any cool bloodline stuff, but there is a beach in Sardinia, Italy called La Pelosa, and I would like to go there one day just because it's the beach of my last name.
I'm a purebred bloodhound.
No wonder you sniff out crime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My dad was a champion working hound, and my mother was a show bitch. She won Best in Show Westminster for Bloodhounds.
I can see that. Yeah. Your mom is quite
special.
Yes. She's quite a special lady. I want you guys to see what I see right now, which is this very nice scene of, right here. Eric and the wind blowing. Yeah, it's a very nice scene.
Isn't it picturesque?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it quaint? Does it tickle your quaint organ, your quaintness receptors? Tickle my quaint receptors, please.
It really is so quaint. The avocado leaves blowing in the wind.
Oh, Eric and Rachel, won't you tickle our quaintness receptors? Oh, all right. Consider them tickled. Oh, boy. That is delightful. That is so nice. Can you see me?
Oh, yeah, I can see you. You look good. Oh, wow, look at him. He's outside. See, guys? See what being outside does to you? This is a pro. It's looking good, in my opinion. Especially for the weather we've been having.
Can you see it on the screen?
Yeah. You guys think it's good? Look at that. Look at that. It's a beauty.
A little girl, but the question is it going to finish budding out before it goes back to vegetative?
We have been having some cooler weather here recently. But yes, the plant is doing well.
If it does finish budding out before it goes back to vegetative, we'll just harvest it and plant a new plant in the spring. If it starts going back to vegetative before it finishes budding out, then we'll probably move to the ground in the spring and harvest it in the fall.
Cool.
Because we planted it at a weird time of year, obviously. You're supposed to plant things in like late December. But doing things in their proper time is not really a strong suit of mine. That tree over there has a lot of white flowers that are glowing all around on it,
Yeah.
And the next door neighbor's yard. That tree with the white flowers.
I don't know. Oh, it is.
Yeah, when the wind blows, some of the flowers blow off of it. It looks nice.
That's what it is.
Yeah, little specks of white. It's not snow. That's not snow. Those are flower
it's not
petals.
ash. I was like, what the heck? Oh, that's so magical.
So, let's see what's going on in the old chatteroo here. Now that I'm done standing over there. This little light thing is great. The reason I use this light now is because it's actually more convenient than any other way of setting up the camera, because it screws onto here really nicely. No, it doesn't snow here in Los Angeles, really. So it will snow. It'll probably snow up on the mountains because early this morning it rained a fair amount.
That's why
we got a fair amount of rain.
Yeah, we really did.
And
Phoebe was so surprised too.
It was cold enough that it's probably snow on the mountains, but it never gets snow down here, even though we're pretty close to the foothills in Arcadia. We're in the flatter part of Arcadia, not the more hilly part. So probably the very top of Arcadia, near Chantry Flats, where we went to that one time to Wilderness Park, they occasionally get a little bit of snow, probably right there. But it has never snowed in all of my life. I've lived in Los Angeles for my whole life, except for 5 years of college. And in Arcadia and San Gabriel Valley here, where I live, or Temple City, where I spent a lot of years, or Eagle Rock, where I spent years, it never snowed. It's never snowed.
Now I have a question regarding the snow. It seems like Delilah is a fan of snow. Like, are you a fan of snow?
Yeah, well, I grew up, when I was a kid, my parents had a condominium in Mammoth, and I spent a lot of time skiing. So I can still, we were talking about it yesterday at the table. Even though my body type is ill-designed for balancing sports like surfing, skateboarding, etc., and I can't do any of those things, I learned to ski so frequently and such as a little kid that even now, whenever I get back on skis, it's like riding a bike. It's easy.
So, how do you feel about the fact that I've never been skiing before?
I mean, I don't really want to take you skiing because I don't think you'd enjoy it.
I don't think I would either. Is that totally fine?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
My mom never went skiing with my family.
Oh, no?
Me and my dad would go, and he'd always have me bring a friend. And Chris Morrow and I skied a lot together.
That's nice. That's a nice, friendly thing to do. Delilah's thinking about taking up snowboarding.
Well, last time I went skiing with Delilah as I was leading the Rebay Academy Middle School. Actually, I wasn't leading it. Coach Alma was leading it. It was this lady coach that we had who was Nordic of some sort or Scandinavian. Tall blonde woman. anyway, she was leading the ski trip, but she had to get a couple of other chaperones. So I was chaperoning, and Delilah, it took her most of the day to regain her sense of, okay, I have a handle on this. I can ski. And whereas for me, it was just the same as it always has been, which is it's like I like skiing, but as I've gotten older, I like skiing on more medium slopes. Like when I was younger, I'd like to go down steep slopes and stuff, but it takes a lot of muscle. To ski on hard slopes with moguls or without moguls takes a lot of muscles. And so, nowadays, if I go skiing, when I'm done skiing, my legs are so sore, it's just crazy because my body knows how to do the things, but my muscles are totally unaccustomed to doing them.
Well, that makes me feel comfortable because sometimes, like some people are so fanatic about those things that they do that, like, they can be like, it's a total bummer. She doesn't know skiing, man.
To be honest, taking skiing sounds like a fucking nightmare.
I mean, doesn't it? I mean, I am TE polar, right?
You'd be falling down all the time, and I'd have to be super
so
patient.
Sad, and then I'd be sad for keeping you back.
And then it'd be like this, why are we doing this? And
we both wouldn't know why.
Right. So it's like if we're gonna go skiing, it would be like me and Delilah would go skiing. Rachel can come along if she'd like, and
then hang out in
chill go around the little town and do shopping, and then it's like my mom always used to do. She never went skiing with us, but she'd go do things while we were skiing and then pick us up at the end of the day or something.
Do they have like snow tubing?
I mean, it depends where you go. Like if we go to Mammoth at some point, there's a lot of things to do in Mammoth that aren't going down the hill, but if you're looking for an alternative kind of going downhill thing, then sledding, there might be some sledding hills.
That's fun.
We could do some sledding, but I don't know about that snow tube thing.
That's totally fine. Those are usually in places that don't have much snow, and they they make the snow so that people can have something to do. It sounds like I will be doing what your mom used to do, for sure. I enjoy those sort of things. I would like sledding. I kind of wish my parents did bring us skiing. Like, my mom always, tells me these stories about, she was, my mom is definitely one of the cool kids in school, if you know what I'm saying. Like, she used to longboard. She's gone skiing before. She's been fishing. She definitely, did stuff. But we never did because she didn't want... my mom, she did longboard, but she broke her arm. So, she never wanted us to break any bones. So, when she really just never wanted us to do, any kind of... she was even... When I was learning how to... ride my bike, she was even skittish about that. We had a childhood friend teach me how to ride a bike.
Speaking of trading or investments, he died?
There might be SI protection. Who died?
The guy in Russia who rolled off the mountain in one of those balls.
Sad.
That's sad. I don't want to see that video for sure.
Is it SI protection? Is that an ESTJ way of...
Your mom's thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's SI. It's SI extrapolation. My bad experience in this means that this produces bad experiences, and therefore you should avoid it. Speaking of trading and investment and stuff, I bought some crypto via PayPal, which lets you buy crypto now, and
makes it so easy.
Yeah, it really does. And I think as a consequence, you know, a lot of the crypto is going to go up in value. So, like, I spent a total of, I figured it out with the fees and stuff. I spent about $850 buying crypto, and it's currently up to $923. So it's like
nice.
already made like,
Yeah.
you know, assuming that the 2% fee goes both directions, then I still made about $50 so far, and it's only, you know, I bought it first. I bought $100 worth of Litecoin. Then I bought $100 worth of Ethereum, which is up like $7 from what I bought it at. And I bought $100 worth of Bitcoin, which is up to like $102. And I've got another $500 worth of Litecoin. It seems like a good idea to like when you have cash, keep it in crypto, and it'll probably be worth more when you sell it and you get more. In other words, if you're keeping cash in, well, it doesn't sell. PayPal doesn't sell that. The thing is, my reasoning on buying these things that PayPal is selling is that because PayPal just recently started selling crypto, it makes it really easy to buy those cryptos. So those 4 cryptos means, in my opinion, are all going to go up because those are the ones that PayPal is making it really easy to buy. And since they just recently started selling it, like maybe a month ago, that it's still early enough to ride the upward momentum on that, because people like me who'd always kind of wanted to buy crypto.
Have you seen The Wolf of Wall Street?
No. People like me who always really wanted to buy crypto and believed in it as a good investment, but for whom there was too much TE, PayPal has resolved that. And so the ones that it's resolved it for, in my opinion, are going to continue to rise, at least for 6 months or so.
Yeah.
Based just on the fact that PayPal has started selling them. So that's why I think I'm buying it. I mean, the thing is, I have cash to invest in it now, but I mean, I understand cryptocurrencies quite well. It's like I think I understand them better than most people who invest in them. So, in other words, most people still aren't quite sure whether crypto comprises something that has real value or a bubble kind of a thing that the bottom's going to drop out and none of them are going to be worth anything, or only Bitcoin's going to be worth something, you know? The reason I have a little bit more faith in crypto than most people as a consequence is because I understand wealth in a certain way. I think about wealth as being that which is created when one does meaningful work of some sort. So the thing is, the contemporary world allows us to delegate that meaningful work to our computer. Our computer does actual work by paying attention to something when it mines crypto. Now, you might say, well, still, why is the crypto worth mining or something? Well, the crypto is worth mining because it's set up to be mineable, scarce, etc. The things that you need, fungible, the things you need for a currency. The key thing about currencies in general is to remember that No, wealth is created every time anybody does meaningful work. Okay. The thing is, the amount of currency in the world needs to increase to account for all that meaningful work. The nice thing about crypto is it increases the currency in direct proportion to the amount of work put into getting the currency. So, in other words, there's no approximation necessary. Unlike with every other kind of work. Well, you did some work for me at my house. How much am I have to pay you? Well, it depends on a lot of factors, right? It's not exactly proportional to the amount of work put in. So the key thing to remember about currencies is fiat currencies, standard-based currencies like gold standard or silver standard or labor standard, and cryptocurrencies are all equivalently fiat. Okay, there's no non-fiat currency, and the reason people make this fundamental mistake is that they assume wealth is like everything else in the world. That first and foremost, it's an actual thing, and secondarily, it's a symbol or metaphysical thing. But actually, wealth is one of the only things in the world that's the opposite. It's first and foremost a metaphysical quantity and quality, and then we have to create a actual thing to represent it. So it's the opposite of the way things normally work. So, let's talk about panning gold. Panning gold is the pre-digital version of mining crypto. Why is gold valuable? Because now granted, gold has some uses. So the difference between a commodity and a currency is whether or not the thing is valuable because of how it's used or valuable because of its scarcity, basically. Gold is valuable because of its scarcity, difficulty to get. In fact, you have to put labor into getting it, Basically, it's valuable because it functions as a currency. Why are dollar bills valuable? Because they function as a currency. Why are Bitcoins valuable? Because they function as a currency. We can have many different ways to approximate wealth, but to meaningfully have an economy, we need a way that's fungible. To say that a way of representing wealth is fungible is to say that every instance of it is equal to every other instance of it. So if I give you my $1 bill and you give me a $1 bill, it doesn't matter. You don't now have my dollar and I have your dollar. We're even. The actual specific dollar bill doesn't matter as long as they're both legitimate dollar bills. They're dollar bills. That's what it means to say fungible. Well, I agree, Desert INTJ. Gold's a little bit different than dollar bills or cryptocurrency in that gold has actual uses that people do use it for, although it's mostly used, I suspect, for jewelry, which is to say that's a way of making your wealth look pretty, I guess. Making wealth make you look more pretty, and without losing the value that much. Because if you have a bunch of wealth, let's say you have $1,000 and you convert it into gold, and let's say you just want as a piece of jewelry a teardrop of gold worth $1,000, and then you just put it on a chain, a regular old like silver chain that you buy at the store or something. Well, in that instance, if you can make the teardrop shape of gold yourself by melting it into a mold of some sort, then you don't even have to pay anybody to do that. Then you converted your wealth into something that is not going to generally depreciate in value very much. So overall, gold will go up in value over time because the number of people there are increases and the amount of gold total available in the world doesn't really. Our capacity to access it does get better, but we're already using digital currency. Every time I buy something electronically, I'm using digital currency. It's not like there are any actual dollar bills that get exchanged. So a number goes out of my bank account and goes into Amazon's bank account, and I receive this product in the mail. There's no there's no real currency being exchanged. It's just quantities of wealth.
I have a question. When Corey decided to get into cryptocurrency, did he talk to many people about it, or did he just do it?
He did advise. He made a couple of posts on
he advised others
on Facebook. Said you should buy this while you can while it's still so cheap. It's gonna skyrocket. He specifically talked to me and told me to do it, but he also explained to me what he had to do to get it. Back at the beginning, my friend Corey got Bitcoin when it was super cheap. He had to like meet up with somebody in person, like at a restaurant, and give them cash dollar bills. And then they did something on their phone and he did something on his phone. And he verified that in fact the Bitcoin was transferred to his phone. And the guy walked out with the bills, like a drug deal. That's how he bought Bitcoin originally. And it was not such an easy thing to do back then. So he had to set all that up, figure it all out, and do that. And he invested a fair amount of money in Bitcoin when it was super, super cheap, like a cent or something, you know? And he got rich doing it.
I find that like I tend to if I see a trend or something, I tend to not want to be wrong about it. So I find that like a lot of like my guesses, I don't really guess when it comes to the market because I don't know much about it. But like just in other things, I don't like to be held responsible. Maybe that's because I'm a 7. I tend to keep my predictions to myself.
So here's an example of my dad using his SI to come to a stupid conclusion, and it turned out to be right anyway. So my dad is a big believer in this, has been for years now, in this company that he sees advertised on TV, Peloton, that sells bicycles that allow you to virtually ride various places. Okay. I think the reason he's so convinced that this company is going to be successful is because he was basically lifelong, for as long as I've been around, bicycle rider. He loved to travel places to ride different bike routes. And he just thought, well, that's such a nifty product. Of course, people are going to love to buy that thing. Okay. And he told his broker, like, I think we should invest in this. And his broker was not nearly as enthusiastic about it as he was. And I also was like, Dad, I think you're overestimating how many people are like you. To me, this does not seem like a product I would ever buy. I don't know anybody who would ever buy this product. It seems like a gimmicky kind of Nordic track kind of thing. I don't know why you're so enthusiastic about this, except for your own experience. So the broker, as far as I know, didn't talk my dad out of it. Of course, once the pandemic came and everybody's locked in their house, the price of that shit went way up. So it's like, my dad was right, but for totally the wrong reasons.
It's funny how that happens. It really is.
Yeah. Reminds me of, when Kimberly insisted that the chickens were at risk from dogs coming in from the street.
Yeah. Because
the dog next door pushed through a loose board in the fence and got one of our chickens. And I was like, Kimberly, there's no reason to conclude that the chickens are at any more risk of dog attack than they ever were. I've nailed that. We had no way to prevent that. That board was loose, but they didn't have a dog. The day they got a dog, it pushed through, and it's like there's no possible way we could have anticipated this. No. Okay? So it's like, now I've nailed the board. I've checked all the boards. That dog can't get through here anymore. And she's like, but we have to start closing the gate. The dog didn't come through the gate. Yeah, but dogs from the street might. I'm just like, that's stupid. That is just plain stupid.
I think
Sure enough, 2 days later, 2 little dogs come walking down the driveway, right
You
towards
gotta
the
be
gate.
kidding
No,
me.
I'm not kidding you. And I was just like, I had to go, well, you know what? Despite your best efforts, you were right.
Wow. Well, that's a humbling moment.
It's like SI wins.
Wow, yeah, it did. It did.
Why, universe? Why do you want SI to win
The
that?
slabs were like, hey, in this case, you should have listened to her.
I am not a scoffer, leaf trimmer. I am not a scoffer. The thing is, it's like what I said about Kimberly's thing, right? It was appropriate to say that conclusion is not justified by what happened. Just because you get struck by lightning doesn't mean from that day forward you need to carry a lightning rod attached to a wooden part so that you can disperse lightning when it strikes you again. It's just silly. Your experience shouldn't be extrapolated from that. So it's not like I was wrong about what you should conclude. It's just the universe decided to shit on my face. I don't know.
Universe. No, I think it was. You learn. From what I've learned with being with you is that you tend to learn on your own. Like it has to be.
I mean, I'm kind of the same way in the sense that I need to experience something to believe it.
Yeah, you really do.
Sometimes, depending on the kind of thing, I am skeptical, but I wouldn't call myself a scoffer, leaf trimmer.
No,
I'm open.
Skeptical.
I'm open and skeptical. Yeah. If you have a good original idea, you will hear me explain both what's good about it and what's wrong with it. Or if there's nothing wrong with it, you'll hear me say, I don't see anything wrong with it. It seems good to me. I like it. It's clever or whatever. I will give you my honest response to everything. My honest response to both my dad's suggestion that Peloton was a good investment and Kimberly's suggestion that the chickens were at ongoing risk of being attacked from dogs by the street, my response to both those things was correct based on everything that was available as far as evidence goes. It just the universe decided to side with them and make them win. It's like I still got my money in with the best hand. I still played the poker hand right. I just lost. Yeah, so my dad was kind of like being like, "See, I told you so," about it about that stock, and I'm like, "Yeah, but you wanted to invest in it before the pandemic ever happened. You could not have anticipated the pandemic." It's not blue. That color right there is dark chocolate. Would you call it dark chocolate?
Oh, it's not blue. I would call it dark chocolate.
Are you watching on a black and white TV or something?
It has a lot of sheen to it.
Oh yeah, it's got sheen. It's got body. She's not suffering from the frizzies. She doesn't have split ends.
No.
She's got sheen in body and luster.
I do. So I'm very lucky when it comes to hair.
Because of what I feed her, her coat has plenty of luster.
That's absolutely true.
It's not.
I had to forsake the blue hair for it looks navy. That's cool. You know what it reminds me of? If anyone ever read Archie comics, Veronica's hair always had this like sheen of blue to show that she had black hair. But honestly, there's no blue in this dye.
You know what, Lauren Cuthbert, being trapped inside with your flatmate is just an opportunity for you to work on your body, your sheen, and your luster. These are 3 elements of hair that are hugely important to every modern woman. Okay,
and
you got to prevent the frizzies, you got to prevent those split ends, and you gotta have plenty of sheen, luster, and body in your hair.
He has really absorbed the things that females have said around him.
Commercials mostly.
Oh, commercials.
I've learned from commercials.
Oh.
I learned a lot from L'Oreal. Studio by L'Oreal has taught me a lot about what's important to a woman.
Wow.
Because what I hear, Lauren Cuthbert, your flatmate's hair is extremely flat, lacking in body, and lusterless.
Lauren Cuthbert, that is something that I do myself. I'm bored. I'm bored. I want to do something with my hair. Let's cut bangs. And I bet you they look better than you think.
To maximize luster, you need to wash your hair with semen. That is to say, man seed, not sailors.
Oh, not sailors. Man seed.
Right.
Tresemme, Boba Fett says.
I like my shampoos to have as many different fruits and vegetables as possible in them, like avocado, grapefruit, melon, luster enhancing, color protection, and revigorating shampoo.
Yes,
I want my shampoo to revigorate as well.
Wow.
I expect a lot from my shampoo.
Okay, you need to go to marketing for shampoo companies.
I do. I should issue licenses for official hair product adjective usage.
Mm-hmm. And then you can go around when they are testing a product and say whether it reaches those stipulations.
Okay, what do you think about this? Hair assessment team is on the top of the piece of paper.
Okay.
It's on a clipboard, and we've got check boxes here.
Right.
And we've got luster, sheen, body, frizzies, split ends. Okay.
Okay.
And what we'll do is we'll go to the mall. We'll see a random woman. We'll follow her around. We'll score each of those, and then when she pauses to get a pretzel at Pretzel Annie's, we'll say, "Excuse me, ma'am. I'd like to give you your hair assessment score." We'll hand her the sheet, and that way we'll help everybody be aware. Maybe you're not attending to the frizzies enough.
My gosh.
Maybe some of your ends are split. Maybe you lack luster. I'm here to tell you what's wrong with your hair.
That's a time when I would tell someone off.
What if you got a perfect score?
If someone came up.
What if you got a perfect score?
I would say thank you.
You got 100%. You have your hair has luster, it has sheen, it has body. There's no frizzies going on.
It's such a personal thing, though.
And also, your ends are all united.
Well, thank you.
None of them are split.
I really do appreciate that. My hair has gone through so many transitions. My family will love to show you this one picture where we took a family picture of all of my mom's side, and I was going through puberty, so it was 12, 13, and my hair was a fro. It was humid that day, and we had to take a family picture, and everyone's like, ha ha ha, remember when you looked like this? And I'm like, yeah, I lived it.
Okay, so what I'm going to do as part of my hair assessment squad duties, I'm going to prescribe for them Eric's hair home remedy.
Ooh.
Now, it's going to be some mixture of the following things: avocado, butter, raw eggs, mayonnaise, and or Miracle Whip. Depending if somebody whose hair is really damaged because they've undergone a lot of dyeing, a lot of bleaching and stuff, then you want to prescribe Miracle Whip with avocado and 3 raw eggs. But it also helps to mix a little flour in there, to just dust your hair on top with flour. Let it set with some yeast and let it rise for a little bit, and then rinse it out. And what you're going to find is that really revigorates, renews, and relightens your hair.
You know so much about women's hair.
Mm-hmm. I want to start that as an urban legend that people start to believe, that if you make bread dough and put it on your hair and just let it rise, that's one of the best things you can do for your hair. I bet you women all over the country would start making bread dough and putting it on their heads.
Lauren Cuthbert, I want to say, as a fellow INFJ, please be careful what you watch. I am the kind of person who I can't watch anything that's too intense. So if it's like a drama that's like very intense, or about like child prostitution, or like anything with like rape or
Animal cruelty.
Yeah, it sticks with me for like a good 3 days.
Even
so
like this cartoon I watched last night, there's a scene where the character is attacked by a Yeti and he kills a Yeti. And it turns out the Yeti has 3 children.
Oh, God.
And I was like, fast forward past this part.
Yeah.
I can't watch this part. But here's the thing. We will do hair assessments for men as well. It'll have 2 boxes on it. Appropriately not caring about hair, or you care too much about your hair. Those are the only 2 boxes there are for men.
I'm getting Lift Trimmer. It was just meant for Lauren Cuthbert as an INFJ. Like, I was just trying to give her some INFJ advice.
You know, I think maybe Rachel might participate in this experiment of covering her hair with bread dough and letting it rise for an hour.
Ooh,
then
washing
it out and being like, look at the improved luster and sheen. It could be the hair dough challenge.
I do it.
You know, and kids all over the country are starting to do the hair dough. And then we'll find out, you know, today someone injured themselves by leaving the hair dough on their scalp for 3 days and got a yeast infection on their
hair. You can though.
In their hair or something.
You can, like,
and then it's like everyone will be attacking us for making this joke. It's like,
no,
I can't help it if idiots do idiotic things with a funny idea.
When did the world forget how to laugh? Like, except for Freddy Forgiato, he knows.
Right.
Knows Lamau.
Yes, he knows how to Lamau.
Head lice is a human
bread
right.
puns happen when you least expect them. Did you just make that up, or did you Google that one?
Winston's mom has been shooting some good ones. Winston's mom, I have a question for you. Being an IDOM and having being a knower, do you hate being wrong, or does it embarrass you when you're wrong? I feel mortified when I'm wrong. Because a lot of the times when I'm trying to give people advice or have an inkling on something and I tell someone else about it and I'm wrong, it's
inklings are notably unreliable. You should at least have a hunch or perhaps a strong notion.
You're right. Yeah.
Inkling?
I think, I didn't know I was NI Dom, so I was just telling people all these truths. And then they'd be like, excuse me, you're so wrong about that. Well, sorry. You didn't have to take it. You didn't have to take my advice. I don't know why you did. It doesn't happen much for me either, INTJ, but
it doesn't mean that others want to accept your rightness. Yeah,
I grew up in an environment where my NI was seen as troublesome, so I'm only just starting to trust it, really. Being in a healthy environment. So
well, Horse Mumbler, if you just joined me, I can answer your question regarding Lauren. She's having some problems with the sheen and body of her hair right now. Possibly also some luster issues.
Yes.
So obviously she's locked herself in her apartment trying to take care of those. I hear she's doing a little bit of brow grooming as well today.
Oh, brow grooming.
Yeah, I did a little brow grooming the other day.
Yes, you did. Did you cut or pluck?
I plucked a couple of hairs.
Nice.
I mean, it may be the case. I tend to agree with you that somebody has to stop the cycle of partisan delegitimizing the other side. But Legends Fall, that's what Trump did his entire presidency, is partisanly delegitimize the other side. So you can't really be totally surprised when the Democrats say, you didn't treat us like, team members that you disagree with. You treated us like enemies. And so now we're going to treat you like an enemy. That's what happens when you're focused on the fact that the Dems are going to come out looking bad on this. That's what happens. You get this kind of bullshit. You're part of that problem. No, he didn't stand up for his values. He stood up for his arbitrary bullshit. To stand up for something means to substantiate what you're saying. And he refused to do that throughout his presidency. He attacked everybody who disagreed with him. He only agreed with people who were hardcore Trump supporters. He picked and chose what news he wanted to believe and presented it as the factual position of he was awful, Okay, good job. Oliver Lionhead has brought both the topic back home to where it belongs, and he's done something meaningful in his life. He's not just spewing words. He's doing something about his dull, flat hair. He ejaculated in his hair. You rubbed it around, I assume, all around. And then what you want to do is wait until it completely dries, okay? So it's nice and stiff.
So, do single ladies have to, ask their friends or go to a sperm bank to get the semen?
Or a boyfriend.
Yeah, but I'm saying they're single. Boyfriend.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, you could ask a male friend to ejaculate in a cup for you, but,
Probably, I'm not going to lie, ladies, you're probably going to have to pay for that.
We might.
Yeah, I can't see.
But if you have a good friend.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing.
You know what?
After it's completely dried, don't wash it out, Ryan. What you're going to want to do is get a commercial conditioner, something like, L'Oreal's, Studio by L'Oreal's conditioner, and just rub that in until your hair gets soft again, and then let that dry. Okay? Then you're going to scoop out the green part of the avocado, get rid of the seed and the skin, and you're going to rub that in your hair. Let that dry. Okay? Again, don't wash any of this out. Next, you're going to crack 3 raw eggs on your head. Rub that all around. Now let that dry, okay? At this point, your hair should be taking on a greenish, brownish, kind of muddy appearance. Once that's completely dry, sleep on it.
Ew.
Being careful not to roll over too much, okay?
Piss Offerson, I mean...
You could put on a shower cap while you're sleeping. Now, the next morning, that's when you take a shower and you rinse it off. And when you emerge from the shower, what you're going to discover is hair that has body, sheen, luster. It's going to have completely defeated the frizzies and reunited all of your split ends. It's a treatment that's just astonishingly effective. Also, if you want to get high, you should dry banana peels and smoke them. Guaranteed to just send you to the moon. That's why they've made bananas illegal. Bounce. But here's the thing. If you use fabric softener, this hair treatment can negatively interact with clothes that have been washed or dried with Bounce fabric softener sheets. So don't use fabric softener if you use this hair treatment method. There's a possible chemical reaction that'll turn you into a gargoyle.
I appreciate you saying that my hair looks like dark chocolate because I like dark chocolate.
Yeah. Dark chocolate's also my rapper name. One of my rapper names. It's my most sensual rapping.
Sometimes.
And lady, when I see you in your clothes, I want to take them off to the sound of R&B all night long.
Sometimes I think I show my demonstrative FI to Kitty.
Yes, you show it to her all the time.
Oh my god, is it ridiculous?
I mean, I always find it
Can't
kind of
help
cute
myself.
cute when you say you're gonna go visit Kitty.
Aww, I'm
see
glad
what you
you
do.
do. I love to visit her.
How's that racist? The darker the chocolate, the sweeter the R&B.
Winston's mom, I don't blame you.
I mean, the stream where I listened to various people's songs they suggested. That is fun to do. It makes for it's not watchable as a stream, but it's fun to do as a participatory activity.
You know what? Some tarot readers do. They use their playlist to like set the stage for the reading. I want to do that. I want to do that for this live stream. I want to go through my Windsor playlists. Go bam, bam, and then see.
You're gonna get copyrighted.
No, I'm gonna play it.
Oh, you're just gonna name the song.
Name it. Yeah.
Okay. So we're gonna, instead of pulling a tarot card for you, we're gonna pull a song for you. This is your song for the day. You should listen to it, and good luck will happen.
Yeah.
Okay. If you listen to the song that we assign you, then you'll have good luck the whole day long. Let's see. Rachel's gonna pick it randomly, I guess.
Yeah.
Pew, pow, that one. Like picking a spot on the globe.
That's what it is.
Okay.
Blue Wings by Wild Nothing. I actually really do.
Alex Rodriguez, you've been assigned Blue Wings by Wild Nothing. If you listen to that song today, you will have good luck. Are you talking about my music? Well, that's very kind of you.
Winston's mom. You get Stars Last Me a Lifetime by Cut Coffee.
I've been assigned Signs by 5-Man Electrical Band. Okay, I'll listen to it right now. Signs by 5-Man.
Cool.
5-Man Electrical. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put on those headphones. Rachel, do you want to attach another pair of headphones?
Sure.
And that way we can listen to it and talk at the same time. Yes, there's these little white ones right here.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Okay. The heart and psyche are delicate things. So you mean I shouldn't be throwing them down into this hole like this? Are they going to break or what? Okay, here we go. Signs by 5-Man Electrical Band. Currently approaching the YouTube search bar, putting in Signs by 5-Man Electrical Band. I mean, I like the drums and bass. I guess if it's going to bring good luck, I have to listen to the whole thing. it's like it's appropriate to the title of this video. This is a hippies and rednecks song, right? It's like, and that's ultimately what everybody wants to do, is to say, well, what are you, Eric? Are you a hippie or a redneck? Well, I'm both, you know? I'm an American. I'm both, like every American. It's just such like, I don't know what year this was made, but it's so 1972, you know?
You're welcome, Warren Cuthbert. And Winston's mom, yes, I have tried to predict.
Yeah, it's pretty terrible, Oliver. But it's incredibly of its time, you know? If it was in fact made in 1972 or something, which I'm assuming, like, it's 1971.
Oh wow, it's as old as you. Well, if it gives us good luck, I'm totally into it.
Okay. Okay, the rule is now you have to listen to more than half of it to get the good luck. You don't have to listen to the whole thing, because I could not listen to any more of that thing.
Can we listen to Blue Wings by Wild Nothing? Or I could choose a different song.
Sure. Well, I like in general when the people in the chat recommend songs that we've never heard before to listen to. You know, anybody want to recommend me a song that's good? Not that horrible science song. It deleted your hatred for that Marilyn Manson song. I'm sorry to hear that. The instrumentation of that science song, the construction of the like architecture of the song, Godzilla by Eminem. I don't think I've heard that Eminem song actually, so sure, I'll check it out. Let's see what it looks like or what it sounds like. When I was just a little baby boy, my mama used to tell me these crazy things. She used to tell me my daddy was an evil man. She used to tell me he hated me. It's a good beat. I like the bass that they use. Boom, 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 boom. I like it. It's good. I could see this making a playlist. You know, it's like Eminem's being pretty
he's updated himself.
Pretty smart about collaborating with people, you know? Like who he's collaborating with. Making sure he stays contemporary.
Yeah, who is he collaborating with this one? He sounds familiar.
It's
I don't know who Juice WRLD is.
I don't know. This is about the video, you know?
That was smart to...
He does such a good job of you you can see the SI and how important it is along with the NI and Eminem because he uses his own catalog of stuff as referential material so effectively.
He sounds good.
It's good. I like it.
Me too. I'm gonna put it on my playlist.
I'm gonna put on Chappy tracks. Mike Tyson's in the video. Dr. Dre's in the video.
That's cool too. Wow.
Wow, that's some fast ass rapping.
Yeah.
Who is this Juice World guy?
No idea.
Drug-related seizure.
Oh wow.
Induced by acute oxycodone and codeine intoxication. Everybody's dying of pills these days. Everybody's dying of pills. Listen to Juice. Oh, I'm glad to see Ice JJ Fish being linked to again.
Oh my god, yes.
His plane was raided by the feds, so he swallowed a whole bag of pills. Jesus Christ, that's dumb. I mean, fight it in court. It's like before they can even meaningfully charge you, they've got to win the battle on whether or not the evidence is admissible. How did they get this search warrant and why? And it's like it doesn't sound to me like it's something you take that kind of chance for. I'm now going to put this link that Winston's mom put here. This guy is I don't know what to say about this guy. He's Ice JJ Fish. Oh my God, Ice JJ Fish. Oh my God, Ice JJ Fish is.
I know.
I mean, it's just what it is it's a wanton sense of entitlement. Like, it is fine to want to smuggle drugs. You know, there's nothing wrong with smuggling drugs. But if you're brazen, you're not acknowledging the burden you're either putting on other people or the assumption that you're making about other people that's false, you know? It's like, don't be brazen, because then you compel people to willfully ignore or deal with your shit, you know?
My favorite song that can be like about drugs, I guess, is called Drunk Girls by LCD Sound System. It talks about how girls are dumb and guys are dumb when they drink.
Boy, ain't that the truth. Juice World Juice. Wishing Well. I didn't listen to Wishing Well, the Juice WRLD song Wishing Well.
He kind of sounds like Post Malone.
Okay, so this is an example of something I would call trap, because it's got those trap hi-hats, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't like it. Let's try this one. Let's see if Lucid Dreams is better.
It's trap.
No, it's not good at all.
Oh, I didn't say, yeah.
I was talking to whoever said. No, Juice WRLD's not good at all. It's not good. No, that guy's not good. It's like emo trap. That's a good way to put it, dumb genius. So that's the perfect way to put it. Emo trap. It's bad in two different ways. Well, be that as it may, he may very well be a talented rapper, have been a talented rapper. But that's the thing. It's like, there really isn't such a thing as being a talented rapper. There's not really such a thing as being a talented musician. There's not really such a thing as being a talented, violin player or whatever. You either make good music or you don't. That's all there is to it. It's like Rush isn't better because they have fancier musicians.
Yeah.
Dave Matthews Band isn't good because they all have because it's comprised of an extremely competent group of like studio musicians.
Yeah.
It doesn't make them any good. Velvet Underground isn't bad because they, sort of know how to play their instruments.
Yeah, only sort of.
Like the drummer is like really just sort of standing there, pamming a couple of things, and Dave Matthews is the top band of all time. I'm assuming you're joking, right? If you actually like Dave Matthews, well, you have what I would call aesthetic encephalitis, basically. Your aesthetics are, you're like one of those babies born with a very small head that never grows any bigger, except it's just about your sense of aesthetics and your taste in music and stuff. That part of your brain never grew in the womb, and that's why you think Dave Matthews is good. Or possibly you're NI-polar. NI-polar or NI-8th, maybe. Maybe you experienced it and so you like it. Maybe you hate good songwriting. I don't know. Maybe you find good songwriting somehow offensive, and so you love Dave Matthews Band because you never encounter any good songwriting there.
So I went through a Dave Matthews Band phase in my freshman year of college.
Shame on you.
Okay, I did. But is that because like I want to know all kinds of music? Like I was really scraping the barrel at like for songs there at that time, like because I was just listening to the radio and like downloading stuff on like LimeWire if I could think of stuff. So yeah, I had a phase.
Well, see, I and the thing is, part of why I hate Dave Matthews so much is I had a particularly bad experience with the Dave Matthews Band when I was camping on Catalina Island at Two Harbors, which is a lovely camping area. So it's the undeveloped part of the island, so it's just campground and a harbor. It's basically a campground for people who have their own boats and who want to sail to Catalina and camp by themselves there, you know. But of course you can get there by a professional boat ride as well. So we had the ferry take us there. You get first taken to Avalon, and then you get another boat that takes you over to Two Harbors on the other side of the island. So anyway, it was a just gorgeous place to camp. We were camping there, and I wake up in the morning, and so at another camping spot over there, kind of by the edge of the rocks where you can look out over the sea, there's a group of, okay, call them like corporate middle management guys, like ex-frat boys from the nice frat or something, like just really kind of stereotypical, like the stereotypical white guy that Dave Chappelle does as an imitation. They're like that guy. It's like four of like those guys, and they have their boom box out, and they are playing Dave Matthews Band like at like 7 a.m. and while camping. Now, granted, I was up. I'm not saying that Dave Matthews Band woke me up, but I was up, and I'm like, what does that sound? Yeah, that's beautiful. And I see these like incredibly dorky guys just really kind of grooving down and getting earnest about how great this Dave Matthews Band they're blasting.
God, that is so funny.
And I just thought,
that's how they are.
How fitting. How fitting that they would be playing that horrible, 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 horrible music. Talk about ruining a lovely camping morning.
Yeah, I would not be happy about that either.
It's like, ew, you guys look so smug and also just like embarrassingly dorky at the same time.
Yeah, that's...
And you're listening to this awful, smug, and embarrassingly dorky at the same time music and like basically high-fiving each other about it. It's like,
oh my God,
what is wrong with you people?
Yeah, what is wrong with you?
They followed it up by playing Hootie and the Blowfish. Probably it was Dave Matthews Band, then Hootie. Then, you know, when they got real crazy, they put on some Spin Doctors.
They did dun, 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 dun. Just go ahead now, right?
Bam, bam. Yeah, I guess that's Spin Doctors. Yeah, I remember the reason I said Spin Doctors is because I once got made fun of for saying that I liked the Spin Doctors when I was a teenager. My INFJ friend Jack Chang was like, "Really?" Well, yeah, I like the Spin Doctors. I think they're good.
You know what band that was for me?
What?
The Beatles.
The Beatles?
I know. Isn't that so gaff of everyone else?
You don't need to put on the headphones anymore.
Oh.
They're like your mask, Rachel. Take it off when you're not inside.
I just forget. It's either...
Yes, it is gaff of everyone else because the Beatles are obviously awesome. There's no disputing that. Oh, you're missing a cat. I'm so sorry to hear that, Horse Mumbler.
I'm really not happy to hear about that either, Horse Mumbler. I'm sorry. Horse Mumbler, is your cat an inside-outside cat or just inside?
You know, I max volume mariachi music would probably have been less irritating to me. I again for SI reasons because I grew up on those Saturday mornings when we didn't have to go clean the apartments in the desert or some shit like that. My dad would always go to the swap meet, and I was dragged along to the swap meet many times in my childhood. And the swap meet is a bunch of different like coolish, varying degrees of cool, random people things. Like basically someone brings their yard sales to the swap meet, or somebody who's like selling who either got a bunch of these kind of shoes because they fell off a truck, or because they're like they were extra stock or something. So you get some of those people, and then you'll get like a person who specializes in one kind of vintage thing, like all records or something. And then like every 7 to 10 booths, you'll get a Mexican music booth that sells CDs of various Mexican musics. So all through the swap meet, you go from boom, 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 boom. You get that to like there's different kinds of Mexican music, like not all of them use the tuba like that. The mariachis would have a better reputation if they only wore their instruments slower. I had a mariachi band at my first wedding, or first wedding reception, because my wife was half Mexican. So we got a mariachi band, and I have to say that was a pretty good wedding reception. That was a party. I was still in my 20s. Like we had a lot of people there, and
I was just gonna ask, was Corey there?
Corey was there.
Oh, fun.
Aquaflesh played. They're a band that played there. Aquaflesh was Corey's sort of funk band.
Oh, fun!
With Brian Moran, and there was an open bar, and everybody got all fucked up, and it was one of those kind of ideal 20-something things, right? Like I want my wedding reception to fucking
Beatle,
right? Just go off.
Be the one that everyone talks about for years.
Yeah, everyone gets super fucked up and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Well, I actually had that wedding reception. Of course, then I was stuck with that horrible woman, but that didn't last very long, unfortunately.
I don't like. This is a personal opinion that I should probably be keeping to myself, but I do not like the way it's. I should be keeping this to myself. This is dangerous territory. But I don't like the way that she sometimes speaks to Delilah about like her clothes and like what she wears.
Oh, her mom?
Yeah.
That's not dangerous territory at all.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the way her mom. She's always been a terrible mother. That's why it ended up being a good thing the way it all worked out, because I traded her in for a good mother with Candace.
Yeah.
Now, granted, Candace wasn't exactly someone I was very attracted to or anything, but my priority at the time was genuinely to find a good mother for Delilah. Yeah. And in that regard, I successfully attained my goal, and that marriage lasted as long as it should have, which is as long as Delilah needed 2 parents and that sort of thing. When she was 17 years old, it was. I don't think Candace and I splitting up had. I've never heard Delilah indicate to me that she felt wounded or hurt or bad about me and Candace splitting up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she talks about things that happened from her childhood that she feels were like bad or traumatic or whatever sometimes, but never that. So she was old enough, you know.
Yeah.
So let's play a song here. I'm gonna pull up the old. Well, first I'm gonna play the song the cover that I've memorized since I've been working on memorizing it. And memorize it because it's so straightforward and easy to play that it doesn't take much work to memorize it. Just play that. And you know, Rachel, obviously, as always, to the extent you feel like playing percussion, singing along, or whatever,
okay,
please feel free to do so. Hey, I want to address this. So, Jennifer says, so you used Candace to raise your daughter? I mean, I was serious about my commitment to stay with her forever, you know?
That's
true. But she was smarter than me in that regard. She wanted out of the relationship because once I quit drinking, she could no longer control things very well. In other words, once I quit drinking, now she had to be accountable, not just me, right? Now she had to change, not just me. She didn't like that.
I have this theory that activity partners do not last.
Yeah. Some folk call me a rambling man, cause I done a lot of kicking and kicking cans, and I'm doing it good on my name. Honey, daddy wasn't Willie Woodrow. I wasn't born and raised in no ghetto, just a white boy looking for a place to do my thing. What's the next one? I'm gonna find me a wealthy woman in a line of work that don't take no diploma. And God's losing lost the game. I want that time fella. I ain't no black and I ain't no yellow. I'm a white boy looking for a place to do my thing. But I don't need no handout living, don't want any part of anything they giving. I'm proud of mine, I've got a song to sing. I said a few things and I'll admit it. If you want to get around, you gotta hump and get it. You're the white boy looking for a place to do my thing. I'm gonna start over. Well, I'm memorizing it, okay? Memorizing still. Some folks call me a rambling man, cause I do a lot of thumbing and a kicking cans. And it won't do an answer good to call me names. My daddy wasn't Willie Woodrow. I wasn't born and raised in no ghetto. Just a white boy looking for a place to do my thing. I'm gonna find me a wealthy woman in a line of work that don't take no diploma. Ain't got much to lose but lost the game. Okay, fine. Hold on. Some folk call me a good time fella, but I ain't no black and I ain't no yellow. Just a white boy looking for a place to do my thing. I don't need no handout living, don't want any part of anything they've given. I'm proud of mine, I've got a song to sing. I said a few things and I'll admit it. If you want to get a hit, you gotta hum and get it. Just a white boy looking for a place to do my thing. Small town boy, been around a little, and I like guitar and I like the fiddle, cause that's the kind of soul that can pay my flame. Then I'm feared and ready, I gotta work just to be somebody, just a white boy looking for a place to do my thing. I don't want no handout living, don't want any part of anything they giving. I'm proud to find I got a song to sing. I said a few things and I'll admit it. If you want to get a hit, you gotta hum and get it. Just a white boy looking for a place to do my thing. Just a white boy looking for a place to do my thing. Just the white pole, looking for a place to do my thing. It's not quite memorized, but I'm working on it. Okay?
You're working on it.
It's not completely
Just like
unmemorized.
Me. I'm constantly working to memorize the songs because
you're constantly.
Yeah. I came from a home where my singing was not appreciated, so it's taken a little bit for me to come out of my shell with singing. I cannot lie.
Well, the key thing about you and I playing music together is to just trust the process. You know, it's like we'll get better at it the more we practice together, and you know, it's like that's one of the most important things to learn in life if you're any kind of art making person is to trust the process and not be impatient. You know, it's like it takes a while to know what you're even trying to do. Okay, so I'm gonna probably play through this set, just break down the set list. Okay, Rachel, if you want to try the popper there, that's one with the drum one.
Drum?
Yeah, is give you a little bit more control. I have trouble with that thing using it. It's hard to use. It's hard to play. Is the thing. Santa Ana's from the east are blowing, driving on this mountain fire. Grant and Lana had best be going. They had cut it down to the wire. Everywhere apocalypse hung heavy. Truck was piling up with ash. Lana got the dogs in the Chevy, and Grant counted out their petty cash. If times are ending, then time is bending. Flames rain down from the sky. Now the dogs knocked out, Grant exhausted. Lana stayed awake to cry. 120 out with Labor Day, and that means cooking meat outdoors. Guy got distracted and fire got away. From Bradford to Arcadia, they curse his name. Fire chased them west and down the incline till they reached the foothills below. Found it too cheap for the night online. At least now they had someplace to go. Tomorrow they'd evaluate their options now that their life had turned away. Lana's sister has a place in Laughlin. Wasn't really any more to say. If times are ending, then time is bending. Flames rain down from the sky. While the dogs knock out, Grant exhausted. Lana stays awake to cry. While the dogs knock out with Grant exhausted, Lana stays awake to cry. Okay. One of my more recent songs.
Yeah.
Sammy has a story that need be told. This is a song for an open road, and such a thing must always do its job. Married up Jeb, turned 19, 4 years and 3 kids. Weary now and questioning the plan. Agency out, this is discretion. Locking in our courses, way too young. The urgency conferred is really just pressure, making sure those underneath them always run. Doug at 20 thought bourbon fun, and likewise Doug at 21, and so forth, well up into middle age. What once had seemed to set him free became his old identity. Now Doug's about another drunken rage. Agency out, this is discretion. locking in our courses. Way too young. The urgency conferred is really just depression. Offer you incentives, but they haven't got a thing that's fun. Everybody's panicked about the kids. Lock 'em up with extra dexedrine. Mathematics to produce success, or impose more unjust duress. Agency outpaces discretion, locking in our courses. Way too young. The urgency conferred is really just depression, making sure those underneath them always run. Without consent, it's really just oppression. By parasites surviving on their wages earned by lying while they feed their fear of dying. Yeah, they feed upon the futures of the young. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you for your applauses.
You're welcome.
30,000 days, too many expectations, not even worth a damn. 30,000 nights, sleep off the intoxication, otherwise you won't escape the plan. I wasted half my days trying another's ways. Who can tell me my priorities? Is there anybody knows the key? 'Cause I'm tired of doing it wrong. Want direction and have all along. Wait until I know. Where is that hesitation? Clarity's no good once your chance is gone. What I need to show is it's all below my station. I'm tired of doing it wrong. I wasted half my days trying another's ways. Who can tell me my priorities? Is there anybody knows the key? 'Cause I think I'm doing this wrong. Yeah, I think I'm doing this wrong. 'Cause I think I'm doing this wrong. Doing this wrong. Oh, wonderful. Oh, wonderful. Which brings us to the ever relevant topic of Lawrence Welk. Lawrence Welk and his resorts that he owned, and the Lawrence Welk themed resorts, they were kind of like
I had no idea.
Kind of like the Nickelodeon Hotel for adults.
Wow,
for older adults who really like the Lawrence Welk show. Used to be, I guess.
Now, did you watch the Lawrence Welk show?
I did. I watched it with my grandma. All the time.
I also watched the Lawrence Welk show with my grandma.
Rachel, you and I are a couple of true blue Lawrence Welkers.
We really are.
That's why we've decided to name our next pet Lawrence Welk.
Aww. I bet they'll have the same charisma.
You know, there really aren't that many Welks out there. I don't know any other Welks besides Lawrence.
Lawrence Welk. No. I don't know any other. I don't think.
Okay, let's play Matter of Mood now. I don't have anything written down here for because I have it memorized. Yes, all Ryan and I really do have it memorized.
Ooh, I don't, so I will not partake in this song.
When I was younger, it seemed that everything gleamed. I don't know what happened to me, but I've lost that sense of urgency, and I don't think that I'll ever see it again. If you follow my lead, you'll discover I'm loster than you, and you'll want to know the way to get back out to wherever it was you thought you knew. And tomorrow will be just like today. I'll be lost in two. It's a matter of mood as much as a matter of will. And the things I do and the direction I point to still seem a part of me, though departedly. And I wonder if I'll ever see them again. So it's a fade out on that little guitar thing there.
It's nice.
Yeah. That, Gracie, you got such good rhythm. It's
Thank you.
very impressive. I sort of operated under the assumption that I'm gonna have to prevent you from speeding up or slowing down, but your rhythm's probably a little more steady than mine. Really.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad to help. Like, I really value rhythm, I guess.
Yeah. And the thing is about it, it helps even if all you're doing is just going on the beat. It's like the problem with most people who play some kind of percussion or drums is that they want to do something fancy when really it's just supposed to help block everything in place,
I always thought that's why. Oh man, that's why I always am like a Ringo supporter, because yes, when he played live, like a lot of stuff was just like to keep the beat. But then if you listen to him on like say like the records, it's totally different. Like he's a really good drummer.
He does just keep the beat, but he also really well defines the rhythm of the song,
Yeah, I mean,
with his beats.
He's so underrated.
And too much noise in the data stream, loud enough to disrupt everybody's dreams. Frustrations mean mistakes are made, until it seems everybody's throwing shade. I won't be just another casualty of other people's well-intentioned rules. I used to think that some tomorrow there'd be time for yesterday. It's not the sort of thing that one can borrow. No one willing still to lend a day. Your uncertainty's implicit, just like an unexpected visit from a bunch of men all dressed in blue suits. I won't be just another casualty of other people's well-intentioned I used to think that some tomorrow there'd be time for yesterday. Day. That's the end of it.
There'd be time for yesterday.
Day. There'd be time for yesterday. All right. Let's play this one. Gerald.
I'm gonna leave this.
Okay.
I don't think I know this one. Well, I'll try.
You can always do percussion or just join in with the response ones where it says Gerald always thought every chance enough. You get work to the work life. You get back to it eventually, and then eventually. Yeah, you can do the eventually and hopefully part if you like.
Okay.
Gerald has a thought. Gerald has a lot. Gerald has a plot to get the margarine tater tots. He's got a good idea for a name-changing business. Thinking now about what he'll call Christmas when they hire his firm to change that name. Gerald always thought there'd be chance enough to return to the work left enough. He'd get back to it eventually, but his visions piled up and his plans would interrupt all the work that started off so hopefully. And now his mind is back on his business, thinking of changing factless to listless, so how all the people will shout his name. And Gerald knows he understands ever more clearly now. He won't provide explanation regarding the why or the how. He'll see you and know you from inside your heart. Delighting, exciting, Gerald plays his part. And Gerald's filled in, there's too much to do. And he grabs time in the underview. Too much to be but, so where now and what? Too much time spent it picking the skew with you. Gerald has a thought. Gerald has a lot. Gerald has a plot to get the margarine's tasty spots. He's got a good idea for a name-changing business. Thinking now about what he'll call Christmas when they hire his firm to change that name. Gerald has a thought. Thank you.
Welcome.
That's one of my most comfortable songs to play, I think, really. I know it well. I have memorized. I've played it a lot.
It's a good one. Most of your songs are good ones.
Thanks, darling.
You're welcome.
If Jesus was people but absent of sin, he must then have struggled with regular men and women, of course. When they too were present, disciples all wearily eyeing the lesson. If people weren't Jesus, they'd know as they think, and everyone's word would be true. And feelings once spoken would settle and sink, and we'd all know just what to do. But people aren't Jesus once they're betrayed. Easy believing forever is lost. Maybe naivete is not to be saved, but the wise pay terrible cost. Does virtue require a rational take, or is virtue that's reason invariably fake? Does musing itself just distract from the flow, or is care better served by deliberate and slow? But people aren't Jesus once they're betrayed. Easy believing forever is lost. Maybe naivete is not to be saved, but the wise pay terrible cost. The one you thought you knew
You thought you knew.
acts like you never have met. The wife you made for
You
two
made for two.
has faded into regret. There's no one unshaken, we all have been shook. Being forsaken don't mean you're forsook. Though in the past we've been hung out to dry, we'll find them at last if we're willing to try. People aren't Jesus once they're betrayed. Easy believing
Forever is lost.
maybe naivete not to be saved, but the wise pay a terrible cost. Maybe naivete is not to be saved, but the wise pay a terrible cost. Good.
Thanks. Me too.
I'm gonna pull a bowl tube for you.
Cool. So I don't mean to be.
No, don't. Sorry. No, sorry. Just like Frisbee. Music is like Frisbee. No sorries in music.
Oh my gosh, no. There definitely should be sorries with frisbees.
No, there should not.
Oh my gosh. Well, like,
If you play,
have you seen that Vine though? Okay, I am this Vine. I'm this guy. There's a Vine of like two guys playing frisbee, and the guy throws it over into the highway, and the other guy's like, "Dude, that's me. I cannot throw a frisbee."
Well, the point
for
is,
my
if
life.
you're playing Frisbee and every time a drop occurs, somebody says sorry, then you're going to have an endless succession of sorries back and
Oh
forth.
my god, that's good to know. It's like there's no crying in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Because every time you
When you get a hit, an angel gains their wings.
Aww. Oh, I'm not very. I'm such like a. I can't see the words.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see them because they're behind things. What's the matter with Chad? Is he terribly bad? Is he very like Dan, who's a terrible man? Is he sort of like Jill, who can't pay her bill? Or rather like Jack, who's stuck on the facts? What's the matter with Sue? Will she know what to do if they bring attitude? Will she show ingenuity? It talks about you whenever we go walking. What's the matter with Bryn? Is she living in sin? She's been hanging with Jim, he's looking terribly thin. What's the deal with Frank stealing fish from my tank? He's colluding with you, and they're talking to Lou. What's wrong with the ladies? What's the matter with men? From the feelings of Katie to the coldness of Sven, they talk about you whenever we go walking. Paths that lead to lesser days, they'll spill out the overwatered past, and whoever's left that's still okay, just tie the sails to the mast. Are you angry at Ken or at Neville again? Don't bother with Ken, he's practically dead. Just focus on Bert, he's medium hurt. What's the quandary for Liz? Did she fail a quiz? What's the downer with Drew? Will she know what to do when they bring attitude? Will she show ingenuity? She talks about you whenever we go walking. Paths that lead to lesser days, they'll still out the overwatered past, and whoever's left that's still okay, just tie the sails to the mast. 'Cause each of us has much and gravely sinned. Throw up the hands, stiffen the chin. Catastrophe looms heavy overhead again. Time's gone will never be again. That's probably a little quick. I probably set the pace a little quick at the beginning.
Me?
I did.
Oh.
Every life lived reaches a time when the road splits in two. There are times, hard times, times of despair, times when it's hard to feel good. That's when I look for my sack full of solvency and that satchel of helpful goods. Satchel of helpful goods. Satchel of helpful goods. Satchel of helpful goods. Every life lived reaches an end when the road disappears. When I'm there, will there be anybody else around? Or will I travel all alone? That's when I look for a sack full of solvency and a satchel filled up with home. And that satchel of nothing but bone. Satchel of helpful goods. 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 That felt nice to play.
Yeah.
Really felt like.
Honestly, that song makes me want to buy a satchel. They're the best kind of bags. Oops.
Amelia, go from the place. They come to you. The details of your case. Amelia, when you rise up above, floating ahead and soaring like a dove, what will they say when they look at you then, moving sideways in the space you're in? Staring sidelong with your thirsty grin. Amelia, can't you see that you and I will never be? Amelia, yet you're still free, with too much opportunity to leave out in the rain. Amelia, Amelia, we're watching you, fair for sure, no matter what we do. Amelia, when you rise up above, floating ahead and soaring like a dove, what will they say when they look at you then, moving sideways in the space you're in, and staring sidelong with that thirsty grin? Amelia, can't you see that that you and I will never be. Amelia, yet you're still free. With too much opportunity to leave out in the too much opportunity to leave out in the too much opportunity to leave out in the rain, Amelia. Huh. An interesting way of playing that song. I don't think I've really ever played it that way before. Oh, he came here with her. And what's the big problem that you can't endure? You seem so sure it's not appropriate claiming to blame things on Scott. Despite getting caught, he's got you refraining for him, straining for him, going to the gym to make yourself good enough again. Making it hard. Yeah, you guys both have lives invested. That's not a reason to stay around. Through the years, you've both been tested. Time to move up, find higher ground. Oh, he came here with her. And what's the big problem that you can't endure? You seem so sure it's not appropriate claiming to blame things on Scott. Despite getting caught, he's got you refraining for him, straining for him, going to the gym to make yourself good enough again. Be done with him. Good.
Thanks.
El Nino, my ass. You call those storms? Where is the rain? Those drizzles don't count, I drizzle more when I pee in the sink, which is just the right height to catch all of the undesired splatter. When I'm done, I'll go outside and climb a ladder. I will go up there and take me a bucket and pour water inside. And I'll say, hey, Mr. Cloud, drop it from the bottom. Hey, Mr. Cloud, won't you drop it from the bottom? Hey, Mr. Cloud, drop it from the bottom on me. Thank you. That song was called El Nino, my ass.
It really was my ass situation.
It was written in a year when we were supposed to have El Nino.
I remember.
There were not very
What
many
year
storms.
was that?
I don't know. It was the El Nino, my ass year. You're living on a time frame I will never know. Alienation and humanity's soul. Imagine you a future after the collapse, returning to the urgency of isolated past. Picturing community free of metaphysics. You're hunting buffalo, baking bread delicious, knowledge of the seasons, wisdoms of old. Fires blazing in the night to keep away the cold. Hostility is kept at bay by what you think is in the way of life as children of the land, without a godly weatherman. imagining a history that never could have been. You lecture at the college, advancement is a sin, lamenting disconnection and every corporate act, asserting all your feelings and ignoring all the facts. Hostility
is kept at bay.
Hostility is kept at bay
By what you think is in the way.
But what you think is in the way
Of life as children of the land. With an agave weatherman.
You find modernity just so banal.
Wow, wow.
Wish you had been born then, but now
Wow.
your experience won't run afoul of exceptions you might allow. You visualize nobility sipping on some port for tribes of peaceful savages in beautiful comport. But few of history's people ever thusly did cavort. Life was solitary, nasty, brutish, poor, and short. Hostility is kept at bay. Hostility is kept at bay.
By what you think is in the way.
By what you think is in the way
Of life as children of the land.
with an agave weatherman. With an agave weatherman. Next, we've got Dying Day. This is a love song I wrote for a woman, not Rachel. So it's a little bit of a controversial play, but you can also see in this love song how I keep trying to make reality be what I want it to be rather than what it is.
I think that's like healthy for yourself and to, there's sometimes like with your teas, right? Magical thinking, all we want, like trying to take away, like that's the no, like sevens. So this is a good example of a seven kind of learning.
You come outside, your arms are folded. I'm getting scolded for playing again. I wanna be as much as I can in terms of the man you want me to be. I got to do what I got to do. I'll include you in everything that I can. 'Cause I'm your man and you're my girl. I mean my woman in the world. You are the one I will be with till my dying day. You want my attention. I've got invention running again. I wanna be as much as I can in terms of the man you want me to be. But Kimberly, please don't be mad at me. Though I played this song, 'cause I'm your man and you're my girl. I mean my woman in the world. You are the one I will be with till my dying day. 'Cause I'm your man and you're my girl. I mean my woman in the world. You are the one I will be with till my dying day.
I wonder if like there's definitely YouTubes on like vocal training. I'd like to.
We just have to practice these songs together independently, and you'll get the hang of it.
Voice, yeah.
You just have to get the. I know when you have a song down in terms of the melody and stuff, then you're not pitchy with it. When you're not quite sure, then you are.
Yeah.
No good come from skating on with them whom you mistaken for the one. Habituated defense and indecency, self-inflicted eventually once your search is done. Driving in the car last night, we we had a massive fight. Each insisting we were right and the other won't blame. So when you pulled that stunt, I screamed something awfully blunt. My words as wrong as they were dumb. I burned my share of shame. It's each of our own failings, not us doing the nailing to the wall. We fear so the others sailing off to address their life and all. You can trust me, I can trust you, though neither trust ourselves much true. The love lies deep between you and me, at least about that we can both agree. Driving in the car last night, we had a massive fight. Each insisting we were right and the other won't to blame. So when you pulled that stunt, I screamed something awfully blunt. My words as wrong as they were dumb, and I burned my share of shame. My share of shame. I think I'm just going to play one more and then we'll end the stream. Thank you for your indulgence. If you're still here, I know that watching us practice songs is not necessarily the most exciting thing in the world. But this is how I end the stream, so you know when we start. If you don't want to listen to it, you don't have to.
Just brooding here won't do any good, but brooding's more and more my style. I seek the cheery ways of standing where we stood, 'cause I've been stuck here a while. And that's despite a natural selfishness that makes it easy to have fun, but flutters in the gut become a fist, and all my visions come undone.
I tried to stream distracting in the afternoon away, but heavy new realities are breaking every day, and for a bit I am out of it, for reasons still unsaid, but still I need get out of me what's inside my head.
It seems like everybody's so sensitive, so ready to just get mad. I seek the simple ways of living like a kid,
'Cause who wants to be the dad? Have we lost our sense of scope and scale? Our capacity to laugh? The sense to know and not to wail, and how to tip the golden calf. I tried to stream distract and dream the afternoon away, but heavy new realities bear down on every day, and for a bit I am out of it, for reasons still unsaid, but still I need get out of me what's inside my head.
and still I'm sad, sad for me,
Sad for her unhappily, and what you call sorrow, I go home. Blues that sink clear down to the bone. Yes, still I'm sad, sad for me, sad for her unhappily, and what you call sorrow, I go home. Blues that sink clear down to the bone. To the bone. Something like that, Dan. Pretty good. We're getting there. We're getting there. We'll play these songs, practice them ourselves more
cool.
too when we're not live streaming.
Yeah.
We'll get more used to them. All right, for those of you stuck around, thank you very much. For those of you who left, I understand. Thank you for being here, and don't forget to eat plenty of cheese.